It's the most incredible feeling to be here. This is live.
Live.
Wild Earth takes you on daily intimate experiences in nature live.
This is a very, very different adventure, charged with emotion.
Join expert guides as they search for Africa's most iconic animals.
How awesome is this? She's coming right past our vehicle. Take a closer look here.
Oh, careful. Oh, no.
Ask your host questions and have them answered in real time. Join us live every day on Wild Earth. This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Djuma Private Game Reserve, where we are down and in amongst a pile of elephant dung with all of the goodness that comes with it. My name is Steve, and welcome on board your live African safari. Hello everybody, how are you all doing? We have got a pile of elephant dung here that is alive with activity. There are wasps and flies and all sorts of things going on in here. And my name, of course, is Steve, and I'm joined by Theo, Island Style, on the vehicle there. And well, we're just down in amongst it all this afternoon and just loving it. It's not that hot. It's only the high 20s, so it's a lovely afternoon. And if you have any questions, comments, please send them through to #WildEarth or throw them in on the YouTube chat stream. Now, this time of year brings with it the rains, brings it the green grass and the insects, and this pile of elephant dung is a hive of activity. Now, we had some dung beetles a moment ago busy mating, which was very cool to see, and now most of them have disappeared underneath as they are slowly but surely making their own balls, feeding as they go, because they do feed on the dung as well. They don't just make the balls, they also feed on it, and then most of the balls get carried away, are then laid inside with an egg, which then is used for next season's dung beetles, which will come out and process the dung just like these ones have done. But lots of little, you can probably see hundreds of little insects just flying around here, and they're also looking for the moisture. They're looking for all sorts of activity, and it is a hive of activity. Just follow an elephant around and you will find all sorts of things to follow.
Good afternoon and welcome to And Beyond Ngala. And this afternoon has started very well with these elephants in a beautiful shady part of the reserve. Beautiful little baby, big old mom, lots of experience. Good afternoon. My name is Dan, and behind the camera we've got OD this afternoon. And it's starting to heat up incredibly. These elephants have picked a nice shady spot, beautiful grass, lush green grass to feed on as they move on. They're just on the edge of the riverbed. There's also some water just there as well. But have a look. I mean, this big female has got long, fresh green grass that she's picking at, super soft, super nutritious. They've been hanging around here for the past 10 or 15 minutes in a beautiful area. We're under the shade of some jackalberries, some tamboti trees, some apple leaf trees. Really is a spectacular area. Bridget, if I heard that correctly, how tall is a baby elephant at birth? It'll probably be about a half a meter tall, weighing up to almost about 100 kilos at birth. And that first baby that has now run into the bush and is actually hiding from us, I would say is probably a couple of months or maybe 3 to 6 months old. And you'll see at that age, they've got almost no use or control of their trunk. And it's quite entertaining to watch them run around and flap it around and sometimes even put it in their mouths. Very similar to a human baby almost sucking on its thumb. It would never be able to have the control that its mother over here that's feeding on the grass has at a young age like that. It's got an incredibly detailed muscle network in there, and it takes a long time for them to work out how to use that trunk. But I'm going to spend a bit more time in the shade here, see if that baby doesn't come out shortly, and I'm going to send you somewhere else short.
Well, we have got something slightly smaller this afternoon in the form of Egyptian geese and their little goslings. But they're making, dare I say, a run for it, a swim for it, a dash? I don't know. But they were speeding off just a moment ago, the 4 of them, which are very, very cute. I think there are 4. My maths was never very good at school, unfortunately, so might need your help when it comes to counting them. But we are indeed sitting at a leopard dam this afternoon. My name is Taylor McCurdy, and on camera with me is Sebastian Romby, and we are here at Pridelands, which is a part of Baluli Game Reserve and the Greater Kruger. But yes, little Egyptian geese. We're going to see if we can get another view of them before they disappear. You can imagine at this young age, I don't exactly know how old they are, but I reckon, almost 2 weeks old now, hey Seb? We've been seeing them, maybe even a little bit more than that. They're growing up very, very quickly. When we first saw them, we had 5, and unfortunately, they're only, there's 3 swimming there. Are there 3? Yeah, there's 3 there, but there was a 4th one. Wasn't there? I'm pretty sure I counted 4. There were 4. But you can see, look, exactly what they're going to do is they're going to disappear underneath the... There's the 4th one, says Sebastian. They'll disappear underneath all those overhanging branches because there are... Well, at one point, there was a juvenile king... What is wrong with me today? There's a juvenile African fish eagle flying around here, and they would definitely take the opportunity to snap up one of these little goslings. Now, Miley, actually, the Egyptian geese don't eat any fish, so the fish are safe. They are big grazers, funny enough, so you'll find them out in the open eating grass, but they'll feed on other little, I suppose maybe some algae and phytoplankton and other things that they can feed on in the water. So it sounds like there's an aeroplane taking off over the top of us, maybe one of the anti-poaching planes doing a bit of an aerial patrol. There's been lots of activity in the sky, but the fish that you would find in here, Miley, would be barbel or catfish. I reckon that they're probably some of sorts, and maybe a few other smaller freshwater species too. There'll definitely be some little shrimps, maybe some crabs that live in here, and then of course an abundance of frogs and toads. And there actually are some frogs and toads. Well, there's some frog nests that we can very quickly have a look at. Just to the left, you can see some white, looks like cotton candy, overhanging in the water. But maybe we'll sit here a little bit longer, Miley, and if you stick around, I'll tell you what those are.
Well, Jumbo, and welcome to Masai Mara. And look what we have. The great migration and the beautiful migration is still with us. It hasn't left. It hasn't left at all. If somebody is saying that it ends in end of September, I think you need to rephrase that and say it is unpredictable, because they are still here, and so many of them. A very good afternoon, everyone. My name is Isaac, and on camera I have Bungay. And today our mission was to find the wildebeest, and luckily on my way towards where I was hoping to find them, we have found them even halfway. I'm still gonna go deeper, see how many more I can find. This is an animal that migrates annually, once a year, arriving in the months of end of June and staying here until, mid-October. That is how you're gonna start putting it from today. And if they continue towards the end of the month, we will say that they stay until the end of October, until somebody else next year says, it was one of a lifetime chance. They stayed here longer. We'll start saying they are staying a little bit longer till the middle of October. During migration, we see about 1.5 of these, interesting looking animals, and they do so well. Once they arrive here, they usually graze on all the grass, all types of grass that we get here. Of course, they're always in company of the stripies, the zebra, the Burchell's zebra, and over here looks like they are heading in one direction, and looks like they're going towards south, and I'm gonna go south, see where they are going to.
So we're still here with this herd of elephants, and it's such a pretty scene. We couldn't leave just yet, and we were really hoping that that little calf was going to come out. But now Mom is here, and this is the mother of that young calf. She's obviously quite an old, experienced mother, and she's quite happy with her little one running around with the rest of the herd while she continues to feed over here. I mean, you can even lose an elephant in the density of the bush behind her. As we can see, we've probably lost about 6 of them. But this, have a look there. I mean, super dense, beautiful scene though, isn't it? Really old trees, nice and shady on a warm day. Now, often on a warm day, if we go back to Mom over there, sorry to do that. If you look closely at her, you can see she's actually covered and caked in old mud. And they would do that on a hot day, particularly at behind their ears. You can actually see this could have even happened today. If you look at her back legs, they've even got some moisture still on them from walking through the water. They'll then go and take the water and they'll throw it behind their ears to try and cool them down, take the mud and fresh sand and throw it on their back as almost like a form of sunscreen. So I'm going to be applying some of my own sun cream and might be leaving here shortly, going and checking a watering hole to see if there might be any elephants doing the same that side.
Good afternoon and welcome to the other side of the Masai Mara, where we have a snoozing lion. My name is Tim, and behind camera we have Big James. This afternoon it's a little bit hot, and that's why this lioness is sleeping here. This lioness is from the River Pride. This morning we saw them walking up and about. They'd positioned themselves as soon as we got here. It seems like they had lost whatever they'd gone to hunt. So 3 of them are somewhere hiding, because it's getting hot. You can see it's a little bit shady where she's resting. And I'm sure in the evening when it starts to cool off, they might try and regroup and maybe go out for a hunt. Now, we haven't seen the cute cubs from this pride for a little while. I would hope maybe to see them later or maybe tomorrow. All this is super exciting sighting when you came across lions with cubs. You can see only the ears twitching. Actually, we almost passed here until I saw those ears twitching, and then I had to stop. So when you're driving around these grass plains, we always look for such little signs. The grass sometimes concealed. Look at how well she blends in there. So sometimes they flap their tails. You see them wagging their tails, flapping their ears, and that's the little sign that we get to see as we're driving around the savannah. So currently there's no plains game here. Probably they left a central. So we'll be waiting here for a while to see what time they wake up. I would love to see them on a stalk, maybe on a hunt later. But I'll sit here, wait for this lion for our next move as I take you over to another live location.
Good afternoon and welcome to Tualo Kalahari. On the screen now we've got a springbok, and you are with Obakeng that's going to be taking you through the Kalahari. Behind the camera is Dave. Hello everybody, and back to the springbok. It is a very, very warm day today. As you can see, the springbok is under the shade there, and one of the things that would stand out with these semi-arid antelopes, one of the first things you see is the white. They'll have the white face, the white underbelly, and so on. And that's just to help reflect the heat.
Welcome back, everybody. We're at a treehouse watering hole. We just came across the resident hippo that hangs out here, who loves to play with sticks. Now, he's actually got a stick stuck in his mouth. He's already displayed a few times for us. He's just gone and done the helicopter poo, which he sticks his bottom out and splashes poo all over the place. And there's a stick that he's obviously been playing with a few times, lodged behind his top tusks, canines, whatever you want to call them. So he'd already opened his mouth twice for us there, in annoyance, I think. But I don't know what anybody could do about getting a stick out of a hippo's mouth. It's like a massive toothpick stuck in there. And obviously now he's gone quiet. Hello, young sir. Are you going to show us again your stick in your mouth? I'd love to help you pull it out, but I think that would be life-threatening for me. I don't think it'll influence him too much, to be honest. It might just... There we go. If it turns, you'll see that the stick is just lodged behind those top teeth. And he's trying to get it out, but it's not working. Shame. Poor fellow. Did you see it there? Did you get it there? I couldn't see clearly on the monitor. It was a bit dark for me, but it's broken off, so it's not sticking out the sides of the mouth. It's inside the mouth, perfectly lodged just behind his top teeth. So, unfortunately, when things like this happen to animals, I wouldn't say he's in pain, but it'd definitely be irritating. Things like that could make animals like this a little bit more sort of potentially dangerous, because he could be irritated. So it's a good thing to know if you do tend to come across an animal who's so active in the middle of the day. Like, why is he being so displaying and so sort of territorial right now? And then his displacement aggression could often be visited on whoever it is that seems to be hanging around. Because it's always someone else's fault. When something's irritating you, the first person or thing that you see, it's their fault, and they're going to be visited upon your wrath. You're going to visit your wrath upon them, excuse me. Whatever it is, it's a natural thing, everybody. No human influence, no human intervention required. I'm sure the stick will eventually just slowly break up. Oh, Rosalind, I can't tell you exactly the dimensions, but it's enormous. It would quite easily chop you in half if you wanted to. Not that that's the hippo's objective, but they are very big animals, getting up to 3,500 kilograms. I'm sure I've probably got some dimensions somewhere to tell exactly how big the hippo's mouth is. But the mouth is very, very big, and his displaying with teeth like that is all about defense and territory and fighting. And they've got lots of molars in the back of the mouth for grinding of the food. But those big, strong incisors in the front, tusks tushes, if you want to call them, are definitely there for defense and fighting. Have a look at that now. They can open their jaws 150 degrees. I'll see if I can find the size of the mouth, but I'm going to stay here with this fellow for a little while longer.
You all have to pay very close attention and look very carefully at your screen, because in and amongst those leaves is a nest. It looks a little bit like a spider web, but you can see something moving so slightly. Now, this is a nest of a sunbird. Unfortunately, we can't get any closer because the nest is in the middle on an island of Leopard Dam. But that is the female that I can see, and she looks like she's opening her beak a bit. Now, I'm not exactly sure which sunbird it is. I'm going to go ahead and say it's probably a Marico sunbird, just because they're the more common species that we see. And they've got fairly long beaks, and it looks like she's got a long one, but I can't see if she's got any streaking on her breast. And with the sunbird females, quite a few of them that are that sort of brownish, olive grey color, look very, very similar, but you can see her moving around in there. So that's really, really cool. So the female builds this nest, and she'll use lots and lots of different materials. Sunbirds are notorious for using things like spider webs and moss and then like sort of leaves. It looks very, very messy and resembles much like a spider web, which is quite cool, and they're so camouflaged. So I'm really, really happy to sort of see that I don't know when I've actually last seen a sunbird nest. They're normally quite difficult to sort of find. Now, she could have anywhere between 1 and 3 eggs in there. Again, we don't know when this nest was made because it's hidden away so nicely. But the sad thing is that realistically, a lot of the time, these eggs either don't hatch, or not all the eggs hatch, or when the chicks do hatch, they don't make it to adulthood. But she's very clever because of the position that she's put this nest. Not only is it up high in a tree, of course, but it's, like I said, it's on a little island in the middle of Leopard Dam. So that's going to be even more difficult for things like snakes and stuff to get up in there. But so fascinating. So another animal that we can keep watching, and hopefully we'll see the little chicks fledge.
Welcome back, everybody. Well, it is that time of year for the breeding and the birds. Wonderful if you can find a sunbird's nest. We've just come around a little bit on the watering. I'll see if we can get another view of this guy. And I've got a feeling he's probably going to he's going to try a display for us again. He's just trying to dislodge the piece of wood out of his mouth. You know, coming across a hippo, and the hippo being very active in the middle of the day like this is, there we go. Can you see it? It's just caught there. It's just caught there. There's nothing major. I don't know how it's even sitting. It doesn't seem to be attached to teeth at the back. Oh, wonderful. It'll dislodge itself after a number of thrashes and slashes in the water. How interesting, though. So we arrived, and he started jumping up and down and displaying with that mouth, and I thought there's something going on with the mouth there. Because invariably hippos this time of day are normally quite docile, quite relaxed, not doing too much, unless there's something to prove. But we'll spend a little bit longer with our hippo, and maybe he'll get rid of his stick.
Hippos sometimes will fall prey to lions, but it takes a big pride to take one down. Only a couple of times you find that lions will attack the baby hippos, but if it's a fully grown hippo like that, he'll take about 6 or 7 lions. Now, a lioness is still sleeping. You can see she's turned all the way upside down. She's exposing her belly for it to cool off. Seems like she is enjoying that breeze all the way on their stomach. What a nice position, what a nice posture there. You can see she's panting heavily. Seems like a nice pose here. I'm going to sit here, wait what she's going to do as I take you over to another live location.
Hello, and I have left my wildebeest, but they're not very far away from me. In between them, I came across this beautiful small herd of elephants in a very beautiful landscape of the Mara, and I thought I would share this beautiful sight with you. Of course, it's the African elephant. It's led by the matriarch, and I think she is the one there. That could be her yearling calf. They're out here in the open plains. There is nothing much in terms of brush. It's just grass, and it's very short. So specifically, they must be here for a nice fresh shoot, maybe wild cucumber or Sodom apple. Rosaline, Jumbo, what age do calves start, learn to eat? Actually, they learn from a very early age. From the age of about, 2-3 months, they're already, developing their strength in the trunk. And so they are able to pull out some stuff and push them into their mouth. So it's a very, very early stage, and it is necessary because the mother doesn't have, a lot of milk, just highly nutritious, and so she needs to supplement that milk with, grass or, leaves. On the backdrop there is the beautiful Olololo escarpment, and it's the western boundary of the Mara Game Reserve. Well, I'm gonna move on slightly further, see if I can find some more wildebeest. Another live location awaits you.
Good afternoon and welcome to and Beyond Phinda Private Game Reserve this afternoon. I hear you've been spending some time with some elephants in the Masai Mara with Isaac, and very happy that you have been doing so. But we have found 5 male kudu, a herd of just males, no females, and they are grazing in the riverbed here. My name is Ross, and behind the camera is Gerrit this afternoon, and we are coming to you live, as I mentioned earlier, from and Beyond Phinda Private Game Reserve. So it's not surprising that we are finding these kudu just spending some time in this dry riverbed, because we're in an area with mostly grassland, and there's some beautiful green bushes growing along this river with leaves that these kudu would feed on. Kudu don't eat grass, so the only food for them here would be along this riverbed. But for now, they look like they are escaping from the heat of this very hot day and this hot Zululand sun under the shade of some trees. It's been a very, very hot day, and it's extremely humid. It's like walking into a sauna being out on drive today, but it's always good to be out. And I'm sure as it gets cooler, we will start seeing some animals moving around a little bit more than this. Wild dog, I agree with you. These kudu are absolutely beautiful. They're one of my favorite antelope because of their horns. I mean, I've never seen an animal with horns quite like this. just the way they spiral and are held so regally on the top of their head. They never seem like their horns get heavy. They always have the most kingly postures, these male kudu. And generally you can tell the age of a male kudu by the length of his horns. These kudu look like they have a bit more growing to do, actually. These horns are probably about 3/4 of being where they could get to one day. I'd say they're about 4.5 years old, most of them. They look like they're the same age as well, which is a coincidence. Normally kudu, when they're males, hang around together with other males, but they're all of varying ages usually in these bachelor herds. But these guys are all pretty much of a similar age. So do you see when that kudu looks straight at us, his horns look like they make a zigzag, and I see 1, 2, 3 corners on that zigzag. At times, when you get a big male kudu, you get them making at least 4 corners to their horns, which is extremely impressive. So the kudu on the top of the hill has actually started to feed. Maybe he's felt like after initially, when we arrived here on the scene, they stopped feeding and they just watched us and sussed us out for a bit. And now they've relaxed and they feel willing to feed again. They're happy that we're not any potential threat, and they are going to begin feeding again on these beautiful green trees. We have had a lot of rain in the winter. In fact, it's been since... I lost the call.
Welcome back, everybody. We are still with our hippo, and yay, everybody, he's managed to dislodge the stick using that other stick that he was playing with, and that other stick got stuck for a moment. But I can assure you that it is out now. We're watching, and he got the top one out, and then he got the second one stuck slightly in the bottom tusk, but it's now floated away. It was much bigger, you see, so I think the action is going to slowly dissipate. He was annoyed for a moment, and now he's like, oh, thank goodness I got that out of my mouth. How exciting, though. That was really cool. Is that the stick floating next to him again? This is, yeah. Does love his sticks, though, this fellow. He's always been playing with sticks. You know, when you've got no friends to play with, you got to use the environment. You got to use what you can. Learning, you want to know how much hippos weigh? Females can get up to 1,400 kilograms. Males, much more than that, 3,200, 3,300 kilograms. It's a very, very big animal, very heavy. But obviously they spend a lot of their day in the water. So moving around in the water, the weightlessness that water provides must be quite exciting for them. You see elephants swimming quite regularly, and they seem to love the weightlessness that the water brings. But those canines, normally in lower end sizes, are normally rounded off, and the tusks are long, get up to 50 centimeters, and they're constantly rubbing them, constantly sharpening them against the top canines. They're constantly moving up and down, and they are very, very dangerous weapons, very dangerous tools. Linda, he most certainly did bite off more than he can chew. That was very cool to see, though, but I feel now that his stick has been removed, that he's now going to go into a little bit more of a relaxation mode. But you never know. He might do some more display for us. It almost looks like his annoyance is dissipating. A lot of energy jumping up and down, even in weightlessness of the water provides. But who knows? So I don't think this hippo's got a name, everybody. He likes to play with sticks. So maybe we could name him an Afrikaans name. Something like Stokkie, which is an Afrikaans for a small stick. I'm not going to be naming anybody, but it was really interesting. Really, really cool to see. Obviously, I know a lot of you in the moment feel, oh no, what are we going to do about it? But what are you going to do about it? There's nothing to be done, you know. I mean, he's dislodged the stick now, which is great. And it is obviously, we feel concerned for him in the moment, but it's perfectly natural behavior. You know, animals get all sorts of things go wrong with them out in the wild, all natural things. Unfortunately, can't intervene all the time. There are plenty of hippo in the Kruger, plenty of them. You want to know how they open their mouths so wide. It's obviously, they probably started off as an animal that opened their mouth a certain degree, and then it just got more and more and more, and the trait was passed over. How exactly it's done, there's obviously all sorts of muscles and tendons in the face that allow them to turn and open their jaw to the degree that they do. There's no dislocating that happens, but males that are able to open their jaws wider tend to have more of an ability to bite and fight effectively against other males. So slowly but surely over the eons, those that were more successful in their fighting or biting or ability to attack using the mouth were able to obviously be more successful and have more youngsters, and slowly that trait became bigger and bigger and bigger, or wider and wider. But it is a very wide, it's almost like the entire top jaw sort of dislocates itself. Marianne, hippos and crocodiles have a sort of a mutual respect for each other. I wouldn't really call it a fight, to be honest. There's no chance of a crocodile overcoming an adult hippo. But yes, of course, young hippos are prone to being predated upon by a crocodile if they can isolate it from mum. But crocodiles that get too close to hippos are very swiftly dealt with. Crocodiles, although they're very powerful animals, rely on drowning their prey. Now, a crocodile is not going to be able to drown a hippo because they're too strong and they're able to hold their breath for a long period of time. So even if they got hold of a baby and tried to drown it, they've got 6 to 7 minutes of air, the youngster, that before mum comes along and sorts the crocodile out. So it's unlikely that a crocodile is going to get involved there. But by far, the largest sort of fatalities or mortalities in hippos come from other hippos. Big male hippos will kill other hippos, other males and youngsters. And then obviously certain hippos also get predated upon by lion while they're out and about. But when they do fight, it is a monumental battle. Huge heavyweights against each other. Definitely seems as if his activity has dwindled off, and now he looks like a log. Enough. This time of day is very hot, so most animals take it very easy now. Hippos basically evolved the strategy of spending the day in the water and then coming out at night when it's cooler. I don't know if you've ever walked around in the heat of the day. It's quite energy consuming, and so they save a lot of energy by doing practically nothing in the day, just spending time in the water, and then at night they go on a mission to feed. But definitely, it's all about energy. Every strategy you come across with animals, it's all about energy consumption. Humans have obviously developed many technologies to assist in what we do. Otherwise, our activities would be very different from what they are today. If we didn't have cars, I bet you we'd all spend the hottest times of the day just chilling in a little pool somewhere, taking it very easy. But energy consumption in nature is pretty much how everything is evolved and how they survive. You can't waste energy. Everything's about how to conserve it. And with the hippo spending all day in the water, they're also able to utilize the water as well as the sunshine for regulating their body temperature. As we all do, we use our metabolic energy to warm us up, whereas hippos use the sun to warm themselves up and the water to cool them down, very much like a crocodile.
Similar to hippos taking it easy at this time of the day, these wildebeest are also taking it easy. And you can see they've kind of positioned themselves perfectly in the shade of that tree. And Odie and I were having a little conversation earlier. Most of the time you drive past wildebeest down here in South Africa, they are often by themselves. And that will be a lone bull who will have a territory. But have a look here. Can you see how there's actually quite a fair number of them? From younger ones that are lying down on the right-hand side to the fully grown adults who are standing up. They're not really feeding much. They're just taking it easy. So this will be a group of predominantly females. There might be a few young males, but no dominant ones. And these females are nomadic. They will continue to move between territory to territory. And all these single individuals, these dominant males who you drive past on a regular basis, they will have territories around. Now, the ones that we often see by themselves might not be as dominant as the ones that has this territory. This has got quite a lot of water in it, lots of good grass, and the way that I can tell that it's a really good territory is that the females are hanging around here. I'm just trying to have a look. There are a few more wildebeest that are coming in on the right-hand side. They also look like predominantly the females. I'm yet to see the dominant bull. The dominant bull, once he does get a group of females in his territory, he will try his best to kind of herd them around, ensuring that they stay in his territory. It's interesting, this time of the year is not mating season for these wildebeest. They're actually going to be giving birth in the next few months. And it's quite a special time of the year. Come December time, this place is full of life. And these wildebeest will all try and drop their calves at a similar time. The mothers all using lots of eyes and ears and noses to look after and look out for danger, and giving birth to lots of babies at the same time gives at least a few of them a really good chance at survival. Quite interestingly as well, it's one of the stranger things out here. A group of wildebeest. Does anybody else sitting on your couch at home know what the collective noun for a group of wildebeest is called? I often just refer to them as a herd, but technically they're known as an implausibility, which doesn't exactly roll off the tongue, does it? So I think this one that's walked towards it, there might be a little bit of water, have a little drink, there it goes down, and they might spend the next few moments in the shade of the trees there cooling down. I'm going to continue towards a great big watering hole to see what's coming down, so have a drink that side.
Welcome back, everybody, and we're still here with our hippo, who has really decided that the stick is gone and it's time to take a chill. So I've managed to just grab a couple little plants from the ground, very carefully, of course. We've parked in the shade because, as with the hippo, when it's hot, it's nice to be able to cool oneself down. And, well, we can't go and get into the water. That would just be foolhardy. But here is one of the very common plants around at the moment. The genus name is called an ocimum. You can see it's part of the basil family. If you know anything about basil, these little flowerlets that go in rings around the top. and beautiful smell. The leaves, if you break them off and you have a sniff of the leaves, smells just like licorice. Wonderful, wonderful smell. Black sambuca, licorice. And it is abundant at the moment after the rains. Lots and lots of forbs growing out. But then my favorite plant of all is this one next to it. There's no flower on it at the moment, but it's very green. It's a very interesting sort of structure of leaves as it grows off of the stem. And this is everywhere at the moment. My favorite smelling plant. And if we come back to me here, I'm just going to crush some of it. This is my favorite plant. You take some of this, you crush it up. It's called dwarf sage. It is the most incredible smell. You get this immediate endorphin sort of upliftment. For me, it's something I used to use with my students when I was training. Whenever they feel a little bit low, give them some of this. And it's amazing how wonderful you feel afterwards. And it's a plant that grows all over at the moment. And with the rainy, Hippos back up again. With the rains, it's everywhere. Absolutely everywhere.
Welcome back to Tswalo Kalahari. Thanks, Divovo, for your plant explanation there. Here's something of a bit of an interest, actually. If we look at what we have here, it's multiple nests, and these nests actually belong to a bird known as a white-browed sparrow weaver, Plesopus mohale. Now, before I get into the construction here and everything, let me just break down the scientific name. The second part of it is actually a very historic name that a lot of people actually didn't know where it came from, but it comes from Tswana, mohale, meaning a fearsome or one of great strength. And where that comes from is from how these birds actually would live, where you find they are monogamous as compared to other majority of birds that would be polyandrous. These would have a pair that would be the most dominant, and they would breed, and the rest of the colony will help in raising their young. But coming back to what we have here, these constructions, and especially if you look at these two that I'm standing under, you get a true nest and a resting nest, or a false nest as some people refer to it. Now, a false nest would be something like this, where it would have two entrances, and it would be used predominantly during the day by all of the colony to come rest, come in, go out. That's basically what the purpose for a nest like that would be. And if you look at the second one, which would be the main nest, it would have only one entrance in, and that's where the eggs would be laid, and that's where the dominant pair would actually stay in. Thank you very much. We'll let you through to one of our beautiful other properties. Thank you very much.
Well, as you can see, we have a bit of a mystery that needs to be solved. There is a form of all kinds of debris here that we'll explain to you shortly what it all is. But before we explain what that is, I need to introduce myself. My name is Tristan, and on camera I've got Morgan this afternoon. And basically what we're looking at this stage is a big kind of basically a murder scene, if you want to call it that. So what you have here is you have fluff over here, and over here, and then you've got basically the entrails of a scrub hare. So this was from a scrub hare that was killed, and it was basically, when we first drove past it this morning, because this is a big main road, the first thought is always this must be something to do with a car hitting the scrub hare, but actually upon closer sort of looking, it was revealed that it wasn't a car at all. This particular scrub hare was killed by, I think, an owl, and the reason why I say an owl is because it was dragged all over the road, but if you have a look over here, you'll notice there's a big dropping, and all around this carcass was droppings like this, which is a typical bird dropping, and large, big ones like this. If I put my hand there, you'll see that that is probably from an owl. And I know that there's a pair of spotted eagle owls that hang around very, very close to here, and this would be something that would be on their menu. Now, subsequent to it being killed and eaten a little bit by the spotted eagle owl, what was left this morning was a head and a little bit of kind of skin and legs. And so I thought, well, maybe a batelier or something will come and get it. But actually, coming back this afternoon, we found that a leopard came here and took it away. So if I circle the track over here, you'll see that there's a track for a female leopard. So given where we are, I would imagine this would be Shidulu that came here. She would have picked this up. We followed the track a little bit and we found where she ate it. Unfortunately, there really isn't much left. The good news, though, is that she's taken it into our side rather than to behind me, which would be into the neighboring property. But it's amazing how many different things are here. Now, the other thing that people might be a bit confused about is if you have a look in this area, you'll see that there's a bit of debris here that looks as though it is not part of a scrub hare's diet. It's beetle carapaces that are there. What I think has happened here is that there was, in this particular section, there was also civet dung that was around. And because of the nature of what's been happening lately, we've had a lot of rain, there's a lot more insects around, civets often eat it, and I think with everything being pushed around and moved around, this civet dung has ended up being broken apart, particularly by the ants that are living in this hole over here, which are also feeding on the scraps that are left behind. So there's multiple different signs of different predators in this area. Hopefully we're going to get lucky and find Shidulu. I'm hoping that she hasn't gone too far. Shani, you say crime scenes are the best. They are indeed. They're something that I always like because you kind of have to sit and look at it and find a way to basically work out what's happened. And the best crime scenes are the ones that have a leopard track somewhere in them, which is cool. So this leopard track was not here this morning when we came past. So I'm pretty sure I'm hoping that she's still somewhere on our side. It's very, very close to our southern boundary as well. So she might have just crossed straight into the southern property. But we're going to check. There's a beautiful drainage line that runs along to my right-hand side here. And it is the perfect place for a leopard to have gone and taken a nap after eating a little bit of a meal. So we're going to check there. Hopefully we're going to have some luck.
I'm also hoping that Tristan get to find that leopard. What a famous leopard down there. Back in the Mara we have elephants, and seems like there's some calves who are super playful, while this mother and calf are feeding, plucking the grass. You can see how they're pulling the grass. And this little one is actually doing a good job trying to put as much as she can. From this age now, she started developing that behavior where she's able to use her trunk. But from the early age, elephants don't have that coordination of using their the trunks. So it's very, very important to know that elephants start learning or start using their trunks when they're about 2 and above. You can see lots of them are fanning or flapping their ears. That creates a breeze which cools the blood in the many small veins and vessels that they have on their outer ear, creating a build-up fan, which as soon as they put it back on the body, that air that is trapped there gets to cool the blood in their vessels. So when hot, or maybe during the day when the heat temperature rises, they will increase the ear flapping, and sometimes they even rest, which they'll keep on constantly cooling off. There's fresh grass, there's soft grass here, there's lots of water. So that is also another advantage they're using, where they're eating here at the swamp. They're very, very nice. So when an opportunity like this, you'll find sometimes that they bathe, which sometimes they cool their bodies, and it's reckoned that when they are hot, they will sometimes smear their bodies with mud, which cools their body about 8 times better than when they're cooling in water. Those two boys are really going after each other, trunk wrestling, which is a typical behavior we witness in elephants from that age. So it's very interesting that elephant herds here in the Mara will come to the marsh, but each and every family takes a different route heading back to the escarpment. And I've come to watch about 18 families with their leaders or their matriarchs, and each and every family uses a different track heading back to the escarpment, which is very, very interesting. I'm going to sit here and wait as these elephants are still approaching the car as I take you over to another live location. Okay.
Welcome back. Our hippo has done a few more little moves, everybody, but he hasn't learned his lesson. Still playing with his stick. I don't think the stick's got a chance, really. Had lions in the Mara the other day playing with sticks. There we go. Hello, Mike. Now, hippos can run along the bottom of lakes and deep rivers, but they essentially stand on the bottom. They actually don't swim. Many people think hippos are swimmers. They're not swimmers. He's like, I beg your pardon. How marvelous. How marvelous. He's showing us how scary he is. Now, isn't that intimidating? It's incredibly intimidating. But hippos can cross deeper channels of water because they can hold their breath, so they can go across. But when you see them hanging around, they're pretty much standing on the bottom. They're not swimming. So very deep water, you won't find hippos there. They can move across those areas, but only to find themselves again on another shallow spot. Sometimes you might think that they are quite deep when they're actually just lying down on the ground rather than standing. So sometimes you'll see them lying down and they stand up and then walk out. That's obviously what happens when it starts to get a lot less water. And like that, he's gone. Oopsie, back again. Little oxpecker in tow. Oxpecker decided he'd like to drink from the hippo's back. He's not scared of the hippo, of course not. Hippo's way too slow for the oxpecker. But what a wonderful afternoon spent with this hippo in a treehouse watering hole. It's not often you get to see as much activity from a hippo as we do from this fellow. Very special indeed. Well, I can tell you right now, everybody, I'm not going in there. He's told me as much, but it's been wonderful having all of you with us this afternoon, and we've thoroughly enjoyed the show this afternoon for SABC and from all of our wonderful locations. We'll see you again on Monday. Have a wonderful afternoon. Until then, good day and goodbye.
contrast, back to elephants, it seems like they're getting closer to the vehicle. This young one is going after the grass. Look at how much he's put in her mouth. So interesting. So these young calves learn from watching the moms, and it becomes very evident as they grow up. They keep on following the mother's instinct, especially because she's a girl. Females will always follow their mother instinct for their behavior because they never really leave the natal herds. If maybe sometime, if this herd is going to be big, they might split up, but it doesn't look like it's going to be a split up any soon. So young males will always leave these natal herds when they're about 12 to 17 years old. They'll end up leaving, but females end up moving around together. Oh, that's trying to get some scent there, sniffing the air. Went back to feeding. You can see she's very much flapping to all of us. They're enjoying this grass. It's much softer, and that's the reason why every day they come here to the swamps and the marsh to feed and graze. There's lots of water, so as they enjoy the grass, they can also drink, they can cool off their body, they can go to a mud dweller. So marshes play a very important role for these elephants on their daily movement down here. The other reason why these elephants keep on coming to the marsh is because some of these youngsters have started using their trunk. They have that coordination, and it becomes easy for them to learn using their trunks as they pull off this soft grass. How long are their tusks? Thank you so much. Sometimes we have tusks that are about a meter, some that are about 8 to 6 feet, but we rarely have elephants with very long tusks. Only a few. These are elephant family that the matriarch has about tusks that almost long about 2 meters. So this tusk is about, I would say, half a meter. So these marshes provide them with food when it's getting dry, and because we're witnessing the dry season, that's why every morning they come to the swamps and marsh, and then in the evening you'll see them heading back to the mountain. I always love enjoying elephants as they graze because it's so interesting how they pull the grass, how they drink. It's very, very interesting. And especially when the calves watch the older ones. Look at that, she's keep on going and going and going. Some hardada airways just flew past. These seems like a good place to sit and enjoy these elephants grazing as I take you over to another live location.
Welcome back to And Beyond Pinda, and we are also at quite a relaxing scene here at this small little waterhole in the hot Zululand plains, and we found a variety of animals here at this waterhole that have come here in the early-ish. Oh, I don't know if you all saw that onto the right. There's a bit of a standoff between a few zebras and a buffalo cow. They want to come drink, but they aren't being not allowed by that cow. She's taken it over for herself and her herd, it seems. And these buffalo are absolutely loving, relishing this cool water on this hot day. Some of them are drinking. You can see, oh, there's the zebra. He's managed to get a corner of water, but she's still not having any of him. She's, just standing guard here. I don't know why she feels so strongly that these zebras shouldn't be able to drink, but she's not even having a second of them. So there's some buffalo here that are actually lying down in the water. They may have traveled here from far away this whole afternoon to drink and to get some reprieve from the heat. There are very few trees in this area. It's quite an open grassland. So the most they can do is find either some mud to wallow in or find some water to lie in, like some of them are doing now. Yes, I do agree, it's getting quite windy out here. The wind's only started to pick up now. It's been quite a humid afternoon for the most part, and even this morning was very misty and muggy. So perhaps there's a change of weather coming. And because it was misty and drizzly and muggy this morning, it seems like a lot of the animals have decided to move in the heat of the day, which is a little bit unusual. Normally they'd stay resting in the heat of the day. But I don't know, as we pan across here, see if you can find an odd one out amongst these buffalo. There we go, there's a white rhino just sleeping out cold in amongst this herd of buffalo. And he's not getting harassed by any buffaloes because he's much bigger than any of them. And he's also not trying to drink their water. So all of these animals are grazers. They all eat grass, and that's why we've expected to see them here at the waterhole. It's the only water around. There's just a few left now that are still drinking. Look at the one that you can see covered in mud. She's the one that's been lying down in the bottom of this little pan, and as it dries, that mud is going to become very, very, very hard and caked across her skin, and that'll also help for parasites as they dry in that mud. She'll probably use a tree or maybe a stump to scrape them off and relieve herself of some ticks or other parasites that she might have picked up. We're going to stick here and see what else comes to this waterhole on this hot day, and we're going to send you off to another live location.
Water, Ross, is the currency of life, and well, animals that are following rhinos, elephants and buffalo are these guys. Now, this Dung Beetle, he's got himself a girlfriend, has made an enormous dung ball. I can't find where the... Oh, it's on the road. Poor fellow. Why didn't you go downhill? It'd be far easier to go downhill than to go uphill, but decision's been made. Dung beetles are rather stubborn in that regard. I want to go that way. That's just the way it is. So, here we go. Look at the power that takes. The female just hanging by, maybe having a bit of a munch along the way, patting it down, not so happy with the roundness of his ball, and then she's going to get in the way, so he has to push over her head and completely wrecks it. By putting just a small stone in front of a tire, you can prevent the tire or the car from rolling. And she is being that little stone right now. Bit of a perfectionist. She's not too concerned about the destination. She wants the ball to be perfect before it gets there. And these are known as one of the types of dung beetles known as telecoprids, which means they, like a telephone wire, take the dung away from the pile. And then obviously she's satisfied with it. They will mate and lay an egg inside. And inside that ball, he's really going up the hill. Not only on the road, he's trying to go up the bank. It's not going to work. He's going to get a little bit further and then he's going to roll all the way down. There we go. Sorry, buddy. Oh, all that hard work. And they're exclusively fresh dung. They can't do anything with it, with the dry dung. Maybe if the dung's dry and rain wets it, it's doable. But generally, this time of year, there's lots of fresh, wet dung, and they're attracted to it within minutes. They are apparently mites located around the face and head area of the dung beetles that help them to locate fresh dung. And a majority of the dung beetles we find here have wings, so they're able to fly, and they pick up the scent of the dung very quickly, and then they address it very, very quickly as well. Obviously, the fresh dung is easier to pat down as well into the balls, and the fresh dung is also what attracts the flies. So this fresh organic material will sort of decompose, will compost itself, will give off nitrogen, will maybe even give off ammonia. Should I say there'll be ammonia in the urine for sure, but the nitrogen might be given off and burnt off if it's not dealt with, and flies will lay their eggs in it if it's not buried. So they serve a very important purpose of decreasing fly activity as well as burying organic material into the soil, which is very, very important from a nutrient recycling point of view. You can hear the rattling testicula there. There's a dung beetle coming to him from the bottom. Can you see that? Oh, where's he gone? Off to the left, sorry. Anushka, I don't know how heavy it is, but it's far heavier than he is, probably 100 times his weight. The dung beetle himself is not very heavy. He's got a fellow here who looks like he's going to follow him and try and steal it. Let's see if he's going to steal it or if he's on another mission of his own. He's gonna say, let me wait for this guy to get here, and then I'll steal it from him. That's a clever tactic, isn't it? Wait for him to get all the way over here, and then I'll steal it. How fast they move. Obviously, that's just walking speed. When they fly, they're incredibly fast. Just be careful this time of year. Dung beetles flying in the opposite direction when you're driving, hitting you in the face, can be rather painful. Sometimes you just feel for them, don't you? You just feel for them. You want to go and pick it up and take it to the top, but invariably that will cause them to abandon the ball altogether. So just leave them. They'll figure it out. Their life's purpose, to roll the balls, mate, breed, and bury them in the ground. Senak, it's very hard to say, but I mean, they're incredibly powerful, So from a strength point of view, I think they're pretty strong, but I believe ants have probably been recorded as being the strongest of all insects, but it's very hard to say. I mean, we can't have a world's strongest insect competition now, can we, to see size and volume and weight and all of that, but they are definitely up there amongst the strongest of insects, and their ability to move a ball of that size around requires enormous amount of strength. But then in saying that, ants are able to lift huge amounts of weight themselves, so I don't know who's stronger. The world of insects is really a marvelous domain. Oh no. The problem with the ball when you roll it like that is it really rolls up the hill nicely, but when it decides to go down, as we know, it rolls down. Angie, these dung beetles will be busy for the next few weeks or couple of months. Very busy, burying as many balls as they can and gathering up as much dung as they can and laying as many eggs as they possibly can. And then towards the end of the wet season, they all just vanish, especially these large ones, these large telecoprids. They disappear altogether. You can still find the endocoprids, the ones that live with inside dung balls or dung piles, still being active throughout the year. But invariably, these adults have already lived majority of their life. They've been an egg and a larva, and then they pupated inside a ball just like that one. The rains stimulated the wetness and the moistening of the ground, and they emerged out as fully fledged dung beetles. They moved around in search of dung, all that they know. They were surrounded by it from birth, and they've now decided that it is their role to lay as many as they can and to lay as many eggs, or roll as many as they can, to lay as many eggs as they possibly can to continue the cycle. So most insects' lives are pretty short, but they serve a very important purpose. The Scarab Beetle, you see it all over Egyptian hieroglyphics. Scarabaeus, scarabaeus, because of the metamorphosis they go through within there. If you break open a dung ball once it's at that stage of pupation, just before they pupate into the adult, it actually looks like a mummy in a coffin, a sarcophagus. All the silk and the thread. So the Egyptians looked at them as a form of rebirth as well, and it's possibly even led to some of their sort of religious or burial routines or rituals.
Discussion on dung beetles, I believe, with Steve, and we're still here with these buffaloes that have just started to make their way away from the water. And this particular buffalo bull is one of the last remaining ones, and he doesn't look like he's in any mood to leave this water. He probably thinks, I walked so far to get here, why should we leave now? And it's interesting, within buffalo herds, there's certain individuals, which we call pathfinders, that are actually the sort of trailblazers. They take the initiative to determine which direction the herd's going to go, and the rest of them are a little bit more subservient, or they kind of followers. And even big buffalo bulls sometimes are not the followers. Sometimes the followers are just more assertive individuals, even youngsters that decide it's time to move off. But even this old bull's finally been convinced to follow the herd, and they may go off out into the grassland and graze as the afternoon gets a little bit cooler. But we have been left with one individual, and it's the single white rhino that was amongst the buffalo herd earlier, and he is in no rush to go anywhere. Wow, look at all the flies. You see all those little silvery spots on the side of his chest? Those are all flies that are sitting on this rhino. And I don't know if you can see, but there's lots of dry mud that's caking his body from having wallowed in mud sometime recently and the sun having dried it. And he would have rolled in that mud to get rid of those flies, to create a film or a layer of mud dried across his whole body so that those flies don't pester him so much. Also to relieve some temperature, or to cool down when the mud is still wet, but mostly for protection against parasites and flies. We're going to stick with this rhino and see. Oh, he's just given us a sideways glance. See if we can catch him waking up. But we are going to let you go to another live location now and see what you can see in another spot.
Rhinos and elephants are mega herbivorous, so they eat loads and loads, and they weigh over a ton. And elephants are so-called the keystone species, which means that they're able to change the habitat they live in. This swamp was once infested with trees, so due to continuous eating and grazing of these elephants coming to this place on a daily basis for over decades and decades, so the trees become wiped out. But we don't need to be negative about it. But in the future, or right now, you see that it's become a change where other animals have used this as an opportunity to graze. So it's created path for other animals, where we see sometimes antelopes, zebra coming to graze here. So these elephants act as a very, very important role in this ecosystem. Now, during the opening of the show, we saw Steve with a very nice dung beetle that was easily and active pulling up dung. So because these elephants deposit a lot of big chunks of dung, so that dung contains large proportion of undigested seeds. And because of that, sometimes they improve nutrition for other animals such as baboons, dung beetles. We've seen also the guinea fowls browsing and feeding on the elephant dung. And sometimes because of the fibers, also provide food for termites. So these elephants, despite them being so destructive, pulling down trees, they also act as good remedy for other animals who come to feed on their dung and use the pathways as they walk. So dung beetles are only reliant on the dung they carry off to their nest, where they roll in the dung balls, where they eat later, and the larvae emerge and they end up eating or feeding on that, which is very, very important to learn more about these elephants. On a daily activity, you find that these elephants start leaving these marshes by about 5 o'clock, about East African time. They start heading back to the hills there. Very nice. Look at that. She has tusk growing on opposite direction. That is one way of how we identify these different herds, by looking at the ear pattern, looking at the shape of the tusk. Seems like it's a little bit hot, that's why she's flapping a lot. See, the elephant that is facing the opposite direction, she's the lead matriarch. And these elephants always follow her instincts. She's lead, depends and keeps the unit together, and is responsible for major decisions such as where to go, where to feed, especially now that they've come here to this marsh. She's the one that decides on the movement. And sometimes when the calves, teeny tiny calves, are super playful, when they will stand guard, especially when they get to the roads, because sometimes elephants will walk out of the conservation areas. As they head over to other conservation areas, they cross roads and other human habitat. So these matriarchs are the one that will lead them and control them to where they'll be going. She's the oldest female in the group. So for elephants to be led and to be controlled, they need a mature, older female that is well experienced to be able to control them in their daily activity. They have a very good knowledge on where, such as recognizing other elephant families and friends, which are able to be avoided. You see, sometimes you find that some old or younger bulls will try and come and intimidate these families. Emily, thank you so much for your question. Elephant herds consist of female, older female, younger female, and younger males. And also some younger males that are almost graduating from being in these nettle herds and leaving. So younger bulls from the age of 12 and below will be in these families. Females never leave these nettle herds. So it has a mixture of younger bulls, younger females, and older females, including the matriarch. So the matriarchs always passes their knowledge to the offsprings. If a matriarch dies before her time, the unit loses valuable environmental and social knowledge and may have disadvantages. So when such a time comes, the second biggest or largest elephant, mostly the sister, will take over these family units. It's so important also to learn that these elephants were led by the matriarchs. They play an important role, and when families with a young matriarch are less likely to survive in times of droughts because they are generally more at risk. If the matriarch lives to a ripe old age, then her oldest daughter or sister will most likely take over the position of being the lead matriarch. And this matriarch also, they very, very importantly prefer to mate with older, bigger, mature bulls. She's walking slowly. I don't know whether she's going to drink because we have running water here, which is cool because it's actually coming from underground. Let's see if she's heading there. Okay. That young bull has been told to move off. He's going to drink. It's now drinking time for this family. Some of them have decided to walk over. So this elephant has seemed like they found a good spot where some of them are drinking. Look at that tiny calf drinking now. Well, the matriarch has decided to move on. I'm going to hang around with them and see where they're heading. If they maybe we'll be going to the upland area as I take you over to another live location.
Ellies are entertaining, as is this bird that you see sitting so proudly on top of a termite mound. This, everybody, is a red Crested Koran, and I say they are entertaining because, well, they have a very cool call. They have a nice display when they're males and they're trying to show off to females. They have this big red crest that puffs out, and then they have a display flight, which is probably the coolest part about these guys, which is to fly up into the air and then to basically just free fall down to the ground as though they're dead and been kind of shot at. And that is a daring display to a potential mate to show how amazing they are. Now, the reason why I'm sitting here with it is because it's been calling, and I'm hoping it's going to call for you guys. Sometimes when they call from on top of a termite mound like this, they then come down and they do the display flight to just try and show everybody that's what they're made of. And so if we're patient enough, maybe they will. Now, funny enough, this bird, often if there's a noise around it, it makes more noise. So sometimes if you clap your hands, it can make it call. Obviously, we don't do that because it's unethical to do those things. But clapping of hands, revving of engines, driving past, those things often cause these guys to start calling. It's almost as though they take it as a challenge that somebody else is making more noise than they are. And then they start with this kind of ascending series of whistles and clicks that goes up into a crescendo, and then they go quiet again. Come on, buddy, call for us. Maybe he's just got stage fright. Amazing camouflage that they've got when you see them like this. So the wing pattern and the head blend in really, really well. But if you look just ever so slightly through the grass there, you'll see a beautiful black and white chest. So these guys have got what's called flash coloration. And so the reason why they've got this big black beautiful chest, oh, there we go. So there you go. That's his little call that he's making. I was hoping he would do it. So he's not done the display flight, but at least he's shouting the odds. But as I was saying, the flash coloration is there. It services two reasons. One is it's a very, very bright contrasting color for a mate to see it when he goes up into the sky. And the second thing is for predators. So a predator is looking for this very camouflaged bird. It then flies and there's beautiful black and whites. And the predator sees those black and whites, and then the bird lands again and it has those cryptic colors on the wings and head. And so the predator is looking for black and white and then misses it completely and goes away. So that's why they have that coloration. All right, Mr. Koran, we're going to leave you to yourself. We're still trying to find a leopard. So we're going to go back into the area where we had Shidulu's tracks and see if we can't pick her up somewhere there.
Welcome back to Tsolo Kalahari. Very good find. Following up on what we had yesterday. Yesterday we had a male giraffe. What we're looking at now is a female giraffe. And now if you look right at the top of her head, you can see, comparing to the segment we had about the male giraffe, her ossicones very, very, very thin, and also with tufts of hair. But another very interesting thing that is happening at current, look at her lips and her mouth. She's actually re-chewing the cud. As a four-chambered stomach animal, these animals tend to look at what he's doing now. Look at the front of the neck. There comes the ball. Slowly. There we go. Look. Just give it time. If you look very carefully, it will come up just now. Should be coming up now. Dion, very good question. It is a genetic thing that you get giraffes with a very pale coloration. It's not really a different species. The only species we get here is your southern giraffe that we get. And also with males, what happens is they tend to produce more melanin, which makes them appear darker with age. As they get older, they'll start darkening out. But this is just a genetic imprint, if I can call it that they are so light. She has stopped actually regurgitating. I was hoping we would be able to see that lump of ball actually coming up, but she's actually moving on now. It's actually a very interesting thing to see it come up, and when they start chewing, because it's a big lump that would come in front of the neck, and when they start chewing, and also when they swallow, you actually see that lump going back down. We are going to lose her. It looks like she is interested in, there's 2 youngsters in the distance there, and that's what she's keeping her concentration on, and that's where she's going to be heading now. Just going behind the bushes there. Thanks, Dave. Alrighty, we are gonna slowly maybe try the mother and 3 cheetah that we had this morning. We are in the vicinity or in the area where we saw them this morning. So I'm gonna start moving on and see if we can follow on the tracks where we last left her. Thank you very much.
Back to elephants, and it seems like those 2 boys are super playful, trunk wrestling. They're going after each other. That is one typical behavior a male will always do. And because of that, they're always so much adventurous. While females never do that, and they don't always neck or maybe trunk wrestling. Young males will be so much adventurous. Look at that. This will help them in future. They become big males. And that is typically what big bulls will always do. So that is one very important thing, because when they're touching with their trunk, it's especially eloquent. Elephants intertwine their trunks, sometimes in a form of greeting, or they want to solicit a play, like what's happening right now. And sometimes you see them placing its trunk on the tip, or the tip of the trunk into another one's mouth, in showing or maybe trying to analyze what this elephant is thinking. And sometimes it also serves as a behavior to calm down in times of conflict. So when one is too rough at another, you see they place the trunk into the mouth. So playful, those 2. And this behavior sometimes, the elephants that like each other, and by playing that way, standing next to each other, it shows really well who likes who. Just like humans, you find in a family there are those siblings like each other, they never leave each other, they're always so playful. It's the same way as elephants. I've seen big bulls fighting, and in that course, one of them lost a tusk. So this will also help this elephant in future as they're fighting over females. But they only have a few years before they leave this natal herd, and they'll later on this will help them in future when they become big bulls, and when they join an older bull, maybe by the time they get to about 16, those bulls will also help them in their activity, in their daily life, as they become older bulls, where they come into families where they'll try to mate with the females there. These two bulls are very strong. You can see the one to the right is actually pushing him off. Test of strength. There's a spectator who's come to check if it's serious or not. Rusty, thank you so much for your question. Do the elephants in the Mara have any predators? No, these elephants don't have predators here. We have so much food, so lions, hyenas have plenty of other prey that they can always isolate. But always be worried if there's so much predator than elephants. But we have made these families of elephants here are led by females who are very, very much experienced. So these herds or these elephants don't have predators. So actually the success of an elephant family depends on the matriarch. They have the experience, they have the ability to take them out of danger. They know which routes to take as they're going to forage. Even when they're crossing the Mara River, sometimes I've watched when they have tiny calf, you see them placing or putting the young calves in the middle as they watch over for crocodiles. So the dependency on the big matriarch actually tells when you look at an elephant herd. So that spectator has come to join, and it seems like he wants to come and play. There's lots of swallows here. Elephants have a very good memory. Very super nice, good memory. And that is evident because when the young females never leave the natal herd, they follow the matriarch's instinct, they follow the matriarch's understanding and behavior and control. And this will help them in future as they carry on to be future matriarchs of their respective herds. This is very interesting and I like how they're playing. Let's just take this moment and watch as these two bulls take on each other to play as the swallows fly over them. They also seems like they're spectating too. Well, thank you for your question. These are the migrant swallows. These are the barn swallows. So at this time of the year, we find that we have lots of migrants. We have the bee eaters, and this is one of the migrants. These are the barn swallows. I remember when I was growing up, in the evening when you'll see lots of swallows flying over, we'll be told that it's about to rain. And if I look carefully over to my left, the clouds are heavy, dark, and it seems like it will rain, or some part of the Mara is raining. So even though these two youngsters will become big bulls one day in future, they have to learn that once they've left the natural family unit, they have to come across these big bulls that sometimes will dominate because of rank. The older bulls need respect. The size and strength of these bulls is also the controlling factor. So sometimes when you come across big bulls, we only watch on the periphery and find younger small bulls. Because that sometimes you find in the occurrence of mast, when it's described as when the male testosterone level is high, those bulls end up learning also. So these three here will one day become dominant bulls, and that playful, that pushing each other, trunk curling, will be as a result of dominance in the future. Oh, lots of swallows there. So because of elephants walking, see, that is very also important to learn that since they're fighting and playing here, as the elephants are walking and pulling off the grass, those small insects and flies is what these swallows are taking advantage of. Super playful calves. Virgil, thank you for your question. What do elephants do when it rains? So during the rains, you find that elephants will still be. They don't always go seek for cover. It depends on where the rain has come and found them. So if they're in the forest, they still remain in the forest, but they always stand and face over at the opposite side, because sometimes in the open area you find that the rain is too strong on their faces, so they'll always turn around and just stand and wait for the rain to pour at them. But the youngsters sometimes are always put in the middle or the center of the herd, where they'll be shielded or sheltered from the rain. You can see the dark clouds there and the heavy clouds. Giraffes will start to emerging from the forest. So these two species are bulk grazers, and these two play an important role also, because where these elephants have gone through, those forests will become a pathway for other animals, and of course the giraffes are also utilizing the same pathways. So right now you can see the giraffes are enjoying those grasses and the leaves of those twigs. It's always a very interesting behavior when you find two species harmoniously just coexisting with each other and no fight at all, because these two, so the elephant is a browser and grazer, but the giraffe is a browser. And sometimes during the rains and after the rains, you find that the giraffes will pick on the freshly sprouted grass on the ground. So these three have not left here. The rest of the family has moved on. So I'm going to stick around with these three and take you over to another live location.
Right, welcome back to And Beyond Punda, and look how this elephant bull is being dwarfed by a massive fig tree here. It's quite impressive to see how the largest land mammal on earth can look so small compared to this tree. And we found this elephant bull on the move. He was slowly walking towards a big forest of fever trees, which is just off to the right of screen. And he seems to have stopped to pause and feed a little bit in the grass. If you have a look to the right there, you can see that there's that grove of fever trees full of very delicious and nutritious green leaves. Elephants absolutely love fever trees, so I'm sure that's where he's headed to. And now he's actually turned to look at us. I think he's just noticed us, actually. Looked at us, flapped his ears a bit, got a bit of a fright. How long have you guys been watching me for? And he's gone straight back to using his trunk to sniff on the ground for something that could possibly put in his mouth. Maybe some seeds, maybe there's some fruit that's fallen from that tree. But he's in absolutely no rush. Just feeding very slowly. So look at those ears that you can see now, filled with, so if you have a look at the back of them, there's huge veins that are very, very close to the surface of his skin. And on a hot day like this, he'll use those ears to flap like he's doing now. He'll flap them to pass air over those veins and cool down the blood in the veins, which will then be beaten by his heart all around the body. So essentially those ears are a massive radiator. Even holding them open like that with a slight breeze would help tremendously to cool him down. So I think in between those little bushes he's actually found some shade as well. So Denver's got a good question. What does it mean when elephant bulls go to must? So it's only the bulls that go into must, Denver. It's a state that they go into where they are heightened in terms of their sexual hormones. They feel a very great urge to mate because their hormones spike, and they spend that period, and it can last from a few days to even a few weeks where they are in must. It can last for a very, very random amount of time, but they'll spend that time looking for females. They'll get onto the scent of a herd and they'll follow that herd until they've mated with as many females as they can. And during that time, you can tell how an elephant bull is in must by a few things. They often stream from their temporal glands. There's these two glands on the side of their heads, just by their temples, that will stream liquid, or it's called there's a special name for the liquid that comes out, but you'll see streams of watery liquid coming down from those glands. They will also stream and dribble from their penis constantly. So if you see where an elephant bull that's walked, who's in must, where he's walked, you can see a trail of watery dribble that follows him as he goes. And also because of that dribble, they'll constantly have wet legs. So if you see any of those signs, you'll know that an elephant, or that particular elephant, is in must. And it's a better idea to stay a little bit further away from those bulls because they do tend to be a little bit more grumpy. They'll display more signs of aggressive when they're in this state. So we do keep our distance from elephant bulls. And then when they go out of must, they go back to normal. They'll forget all about mating and they'll go off and leave the herd of females and calves and hang around by themselves or with other bulls until the next time that they go into must again. As they get older, they'll go into must fewer and fewer times and for shorter periods, and spend more and more time on their own. But this bull, having a look at his forehead, doesn't look like he's streaming any secretion from his temporal glands. We haven't seen his legs, but I don't think he's in must at all. He's very relaxed, not showing any signs of wanting to follow a herd of females. If he was in must, you'd expect to see him walking with purpose, trying to find scent of a female on the ground. He'd be walking with his trunk on the ground sniffing, and when he finally picked up a scent of a female that is in heat, he'd be able to tell which females are in heat from that particular scent, and he would pursue the females that were actually in estrus. He would leave the females that have calves alone, and he can tell all that by smelling the urine of a female and the hormones that are contained in that urine. Amazingly clever animals. So Monique has asked a very difficult question, but also an extremely fascinating question. She's asked how old that fig tree is that elephant's standing underneath. And it's very difficult to say, Monique, because fig trees grow quite slowly, and I'm not sure if any of you guys know what a strangler fig is. It's a fig that starts off as a creeper that creeps up another trees and eventually grows so ferociously around that tree that it actually takes over the tree and strangles it, and its leaves cover the leaves of the host tree, steal the sunlight for them, and eventually the host tree dies and the strangler fig is left intact, and that's when it's actually mature like it is now, an adult fig. So this tree was once a creeper, and it's strangled its host tree already. You can't see any remnants of the host tree, and it's very tall. It's at least 15 or 20 meters tall. I would say this tree is about 50 plus. It's not younger than 50. And you can see on the bark, or actually on the trunk of this tree, the figs grow right on the trunk. They don't grow on the stalk or in bunches like grapes or hang like apples from the branches. They grow straight off the trunk, and this is called a sycamore fig. I often find them growing close to the water sources or water holes or rivers. And they're a very important source of food for a lot of birds, lots of animals. This elephant, maybe after the fig tree has fruited, because I don't think it's fruiting at the moment, would love to eat the fruit that falls down from this tree, as well as a lot of other animals. This elephant seems very relaxed for now. We're going to send you over to another spot to see what they found that side.
Welcome back to Tswalo Kalahari. I mean, this morning, these cats gave us a workout and a half. And as anticipated, we thought they would still be in the vicinity this afternoon. They are a little bit more relaxed than this morning. Obviously, this morning, the mother was looking for something for her to feed on and probably for the youngsters to also start nibbling on a little bit of meat. But for now, it's still a little bit warm. They are under a shade. They've moved a little bit from where we left them this afternoon, so trekking wasn't that difficult this afternoon. I mean, just look at the beauty that we have right there in front of us. I mean, we really didn't get into detail about these cats. The last thing I remember discussing was how the nails stick out. But one would also say, how could I go into such detail without even having to describe what the difference between a cheetah and a leopard would be? I mean, I just went right deep into it, but it was because of the trekking that I was showing how they walk and so on. And now that they are a little bit relaxed, if we look onto the female there, you can see her spots are actually true spots. They are very rounded and solid spots. And if you look at the facial features, if she does turn this way, we'll have a look at that just now. You would see she's got two stripes, as what they refer to as tear marks, coming right from the corner of the eyes, running down almost to the mouth or past the nose or the nasal cavity to the mouth, which the leopard does not really have. And if you look at the spots, your leopard would have more like a rosé kind of a spotting, almost like a half C kind of a thing, or almost patterned a dot or a blotch, if I can call it, where this is actually a true spot. And if you look at physical anatomy, your cheetah is almost like the greyhound, very slim, slender build, very elongated body, thin legs, obviously built for speed, and that's how they actually pierce through the wind, almost being aerodynamic like that. Whereas if you look at the leopard, they are more stockier, bulkier built, and obviously a different hunting strategy there with your leopard, that they would be ambush predators, meaning that they would lie still and wait for prey to almost walk upon them, and they would pounce using those powerful shoulders and legs, and also with the jaws and the canines that they would have. Whereas the cheetah is, now you see me, now I'm on top of you kind of scenario. I mean, these guys are known to be the fastest land mammal, with a 0 to 100 and at just under 3 seconds. So if you had to break that, it's almost looking at 9 meters per second. Renee, it's a very good question asking that. Do they get those tear marks at birth? Yes, they are born with those tear marks. But another interesting thing with cheetahs being born, there's something called mimicry, or to mimic. So when cheetahs are born, apart from having those tear lines in their eyes, they would actually look something more like a honey badger or a rattle, as some refer to them, with a very white, tingy black mane running from the cap of the head all the way to the tail. And as they get a little bit older, like these guys at about 4 months, 3.5 months, they start losing that coloration, and you actually start seeing the spots actually starting to form. And that's just another way that it ensures that these guys obviously do survive when mom goes hunting and leaves the little young ones behind. Obviously, a rattle has more potential threat seen from afar than seeing a cheetah cub that would be vulnerable and defenseless. And that's why they would mimic something slightly different than what they are. That's why these strategies are there in the wild or in Mother Nature. See how she's kept her head up, just listening out. Look at the movement of the ears there. Every now and then pointing them to a different direction. And also the way she's positioned herself, if you look closely, it's almost like a game path going past where she's lying. So it's not just lazily lying around. Everything is done with a purpose. There's specifics involved in how she's positioned herself. And not too far from where we are is actually a watering hole. So that could be an interleading game path, a well-known traveled game path by general game to and from the water hole I'm talking about. So everything very precise. It's not just coincidence. Look at that fluff. The young one just stood or turned. You can still see the tinge of black on the back. Again, focusing the ears. Alright guys, we're gonna stay with this female a little bit and see what she does in the next few moments. But for now, I'll send you off to another incredible location.
How cute are cheetahs? And one of the fastest land mammal. Now we've come to our largest land mammal, and those two seems like they want to go on a play. Trunk wrestling. See the trunk curled on the other one's mouth. I think this evening has been served with lots of pushing and running, tossing each other, the trunk wrestling. Well, their mother is busy trumpeting over in the distance. Oh, there's a topi who's running up here. I don't know what the topi saw. Look at that run. Okay, getting ready to jump, and off you go. Maybe something spooked him, you never know. So sometimes when you're seated watching amazing elephants or maybe something else, you just happen to see another species just come along the way. Just like that little topi that came our way. Seems like something scared him. not quite sure what scooped him. Giraffes are slowly emerging out of the forest. I can hear over the distance tropical boo-boo duetting. There's lots of birds activity here. We've seen the barn swallows. And also, the Mara serves as a very good place to see migrants. At this time of the year, we find lots of migratory birds from the Palearctic region, Asia and Europe, who come all the way to East Africa and heading further down to the Southern African region. There's another bird going loud and noisy. I think that's the African wattle lapwing. So these birds are terrestrial nesters, and they always lay their eggs next to water courses. Like you can see, it's close to running water, or sometimes on the sides of the road. And I think they might be guarding the nest somewhere there. And off they go. Wow, a lot of activity this evening. So, this is one place that I always come and enjoy being here because of elephants and other herds that comes to eat here. And of course we have the river pride who have their calves somewhere around here. So at that time of the day it's cooling off, and I'm still going to find our lions who are a little bit sleeping before we got here. So as I watch these elephants playful and other grazing, let me take you over to another live location.
Sure. We have been doing exactly the opposite of Tim here at Beyond Phinda. We have been driving all over the show to try and find some animals for you to have a look at this afternoon. And we have eventually found this elephant, and we are going to stick with him because he is in good signal and he's being very, very, he's playing ball with us this afternoon. At the moment, the wind is picking up a bit. So he's in amongst these bushes, trying to kind of get away from the wind. So you've got a very good question, a very difficult question as well, from Chad. And he says, or he asks, how far can elephants hear? And I suppose it is a little bit circumstantial. It depends on how loud the noise is that they're listening to. Also depends on the weather conditions. Like, for example, now the wind would muffle his hearing quite a lot, and he wouldn't be able to hear as far or as much as he would in clear conditions. But elephants do communicate over extremely long distances vocally with a bellow that they emit from their stomach. So they make these very low frequency bellows from the pit of their stomach, and they can communicate with elephants over 10 kilometers away. Well, sorry, I'll get back to you on that. I think it's about 10 or 20 in some areas, but I think it's further in other areas like the Namib Desert. I think it's like up to 80, 90 kilometers. But it's called infrasound, and they actually feel the vibrations in their feet of those low bellows. But it's a very far distance that they can hear that infrasound. With their actual audio, their ears, I'm not 100% sure. They do have much better hearing than us, but I wouldn't be able to put a distance on it. So Stuck in Bed has asked, what is the best thing I've seen an elephant do. And sure, I'm going to have to think about this for a little bit, but I've seen lots of amazing elephant sightings on Phinda in the north of the reserve, where they live in this very, very special habitat called sand forest. And I've never seen an elephant push down a massive tree like this fig tree before, but I've seen them push down trees that are almost as big, and it's always an amazing thing to see an elephant push down and hear the sound of a tree being crushed by an elephant. I've also seen an elephant asleep on its side before. I was walking in the bush and I came across an elephant fast asleep. I thought it was actually dead. But it was not, it was asleep. But I have heard of my friend the other day came across my friend actually came across an elephant placenta. He actually watched the elephants give birth, but he didn't see the elephant sort of baby come out. All the rest of the elephants went around the mother and protected her while she was giving birth, and then when the baby was born, they kind of escorted her away in a small little battalion away from the placenta. And then when they went to discover what had been going on, because actually I didn't even realize what had happened, they found the elephant placenta. So they actually witnessed an elephant giving birth and the whole herd taking part in it, which must have been unbelievable to see. But yeah, every time I spend with an elephant, I really, really enjoy. So we're going to spend some more time with him, and we'll send you off to see what you can see at another live location.
Welcome back. So I've spent most of the afternoon kind of going between watering holes and haven't been quite so lucky. So I was on my way back towards the Birmingham Pride to see if they might start moving around as it starts to cool down, and thought I should definitely try and pop in to where we left this lioness and her two cubs this morning. They also seem to be flat and out at the moment, ears flicking. You often see a little flick of the tail every now and then as well. Trying to get rid of some of the flies and insects that might be buzzing around their ears. This is the young male that we've just zoomed in on. He's looking fast asleep. Flies are irritating him, but not enough to get him up. Sometimes you'll see that constant irritation might encourage a lion or a little cub particularly to get up. And at this time of the day, they might be becoming quite playful. You'll see them maybe get up, start playing with each other, then trying to wake mom up. The little lioness at the back there, you can see the spots on her back legs. I mean, lion cubs are born quite spotty actually, and that's all for camouflage when mom leaves them when she has to go and hunt. And I'm sure this evening, this lioness is going to have to go and hunt. She hasn't eaten in a couple of days. And last night she did in fact join up with the rest of the pride, and then she pulled back out. So she's going to have to do it all on her own. There's not going to be anybody helping her. But to get these little cubs up to about 7 months old as a first-time mom, this Birmingham lioness has done an incredibly good job. She just keeps getting bigger and bigger every time I see her as well. She's about 4 years old, and for a lioness to be that old, raising her first cubs, all of them successfully, is an incredible job. Just see the light on her tummy starting to fade. A couple of the cubs are getting, little male's moving his head around. Little sister's tail flicking. All I'm waiting to see is maybe a yawn or a stretch. Those are really good indicators to let us know that they might be getting up. He even saw some of those flies moving around his face there. I don't want to wish any bad luck on him, but let's see if those flies can irritate him enough to make him stand up. And you'll see once he is up, he might look for anything to get his attention. Probably his mom or his sister. his mom might just shrug him off. He may even go and try and suckle from mom. They're not completely weaned off yet. However, she is in the process of trying to stop them suckling. So she may get a little bit irritated with them once they try and go in on the teats. And once they do try and suckle, she'll kind of stand up, give a little snarl, move away, and maybe lie down again, kind of saying, this is not the right time. I'm going to try and keep you to eat, try and get you some meat later. Beautiful scene. I mean, mom and two babies just taking it easy. You see how close together they are. They've developed these super strong bonds. With them being down like this and only a few flies getting movement out of them, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to let them stay here, and I'm going to go towards where we left the rest of the Birmingham Pride this morning. The light is beautiful, and it's getting to that time of day when they might start getting up and moving around.
Well, yeah, welcome back to this side of the Mara, and this is just a spectacular moment for me. I hope you can see why. It's just about sunset, and I've come across this huge herd of buffalo. It's one of our biggest in the Mara Triangle, and it's just beautiful to see them as the sun says goodbye to a beautiful day. These are the Cape Buffalo, and this is a breeding herd, which is, a mixture of females, young ones, half-growns, and everybody else. You can hear the young ones mooing, just like cows. Of course, every time I say that, they go quiet. Yeah, the Cape Buffalo is a native of Africa, and it's found in some parts of, Uganda, basically from Kenya all the way down to Southern Africa. It's very, very abundant, and herds, range from, 50 to over 1,000 in different places, like the Sulus Game Reserve in Tanzania. There I've seen very big herds. Botswana, I've seen very, very big herds. Also in Uganda, they are very big herds, but normal size is around 150. Well, this is an animal that, it's a herbivore, it grazes a lot. Usually it is fast affected when conditions are bad, like when there's a drought. It's the first one to be affected because basically it feeds on grass only and needs lots and lots of water. And so anywhere where there is plenty of water and plenty of grass, it thrives and does very, very well. Of course, it's got very amazing hearing, and that's why a few of them are making sure that I don't get out of the vehicle. They are never friendly with the vehicle, and they will never be friendly with vehicles. It's just their nature. They don't like, the sound of human, and because it's coming out of the vehicle, they are always very alert. Remember to talk to us, #WildEarth. Question, comments are really, really welcome. And during the night, when it's cool, that is when they are actually very, very active, and then very early. Yes, they're very active at night, and then very early in the morning, they will have a rest to enjoy the morning sun. Well, update about our cub with the Olololo lioness. No panics. She was very well with the mother, and afternoon it's not a very good time for me to go and see her because I knew she was going to stay in the lager for the rest of the afternoon and evening. The best time is early morning, so I'm gonna be going again tomorrow morning, see if I can find the little lucky cub. But they were very, very fine together with their mom. No injuries, no broken bones, so they were very, very okay. Okay, I'm gonna let you enjoy this for a few minutes, and then I'm gonna move on.
So from the other side of the Mara, we've seen some buffaloes, and now back to where we are a little bit earlier. These lambs were all of them sleeping. They're all scattered. Now they've regrouped, and they've come to a common place where they seem like they are planning on what to do next. I can see some adults have come here. So this river pride has those two male sub-adults who seems like they're being growled at. It's getting cool, and I'm sure that's the time of the day when lions will start to be active. So river pride tried to hunt this morning. Remember when I told you I got here this morning and they were all positioned on the road. It looked like they were chasing after something, but then it got away. One of them tried to go, but the rest kept on sleeping here. So we've come back and found them sleeping. And now it's because it's becoming cool, they now want to go on the activity or maybe for a hunt. You can see those tails wagging. I've seen these lions hunt, and I tell you, this is one of the lions that I know after, when watching them and they go after something, I definitely know they will get it. So it will be nice to see what will happen if they start being on the move. I can see some tortoises over in the distance watching these lions. But when predator has been seen by prey, they always ignore. See the tortoise walking over in the distance and they're looking very skittish. I'm going to hold on here because these lions seems like they want to be active. See what's going to happen as I take you over to another live location.
Well, this is one of those moments when you just need to take a breather, have a glass of water of any drink of your choice, and just sit back. If you love coffee, just have it and give it a bit of your time. And so in that case, I'm gonna give you maybe a minute or so of some quiet time so that you can enjoy this beautiful setting that I have here. Starting now. Well, it's just amazing in a moment. It's beautiful. So as I move on, I'm gonna let you enjoy it a little bit more as we take you to another, live, safari location.
Juvenile
Well, I'm also looking so forward to our sunset over here, and on our way towards trying to relocate on the Birmingham Pride in this beautiful light, which we just short of sunset now, we found a lilac-breasted roller. I know this is one of the more popular and favorite birds for lots of South Africans, and seeing them around is so fantastic, particularly right at the top of a bare branch in such beautiful light. They are stunning birds. I mean, right from that perch, he's constantly hunting. You see how his head's turning around, turning side to side, looking down into the grass, looking for any kind of movement from insects, like grasshoppers or anything flying around. This is actually in the middle of their breeding season as well, and they can be super aggressive towards other birds coming into their areas. I wonder if this one doesn't have a nest somewhere around. He'll have a nest in a small hole in a tree where they'll lay their eggs, and both parents will do a really good job trying to protect the nest from other birds, snakes. They can be super territorial. I mean, at this time, there are also a few birds like cuckoos who will try and get into their nest to lay eggs and get these rollers to maybe even bring up the cuckoo's young. And it's behaving. It's not even worried about us at all. Birds can often be a tricky one. You stop, you see a beautiful bird that I want to show to all of you, and it'll fly away very quickly. But this lilac-breasted roller seems to be enjoying the camera, enjoying the light, and I think he's just like us. He's going to enjoy the sunset shortly. Just watching, it'll be fascinating to see him or her swoop down and steal a little insect. So I'm going to continue on my way to try and find those Birminghams. I can actually hear in the distance a few impalas alarm calling. I don't know if you hear, did you hear that? There are a few impala alarm calling almost exactly where they were this morning. I'm sure those impalas are watching the Birmingham Pride. So don't go too far.
Just moving around, the cheetah cubs and mom are mobile. Mom seems very interested in northeast direction, so I'm just gonna try keep up. There she is, still reassessing. She definitely did hear something this side. The cubs could be a little bit of a problem if she does start hunting with the speed that she can reach. So let's see what happens, but she is definitely hearing something this side and really following up. She really needs to make a kill very soon. So let's see what happens. Still stalking. We'll get her view in. There we go. Just behind those bushes. Listen to that. The little one's calling. It is quite a big ask for them to try and keep up. You can see they're almost running to try and keep up with Mom, which is a very energy-consuming task for them. Gonna try and move a little bit forward also and see what happens.
Hello everybody. Well, we're up on Buffelshoek and we've just caught up with one of the landowners, Hunter's Moon, who's had a puff adder in their camp. Darby has caught the puff adder, so just a bit of a puff adder release at the moment. Obviously, we don't want these snakes in camp, so better to go put them out in the environment. Have a look at this little fellow. Remember, these are extremely venomous snakes, but they're not out to get you. Look at that camouflage in the middle of the road. He's not here to harm me. He believes his camouflage is completely invisible. It cannot be seen. That's what they think. And that is the reason why they bite so many people, purely because they camouflage. Even if I move towards him, he doesn't react like most other snakes that will move away. I'm good, thanks. So most other snakes will actually move away at the vibrations on the ground, but these guys think they are so camouflaged, which they are, that they can't be seen. And so they get stood on a lot. And so many people get bitten on the ankle, as well as many women and children in Africa on the wrists and arms for harvesting firewood. You can imagine one of these guys hiding in a little wood pile. You're out in the bush picking up wood, and this guy hasn't moved away, and you go to grab it and zick on your wrist. But I think he's quite shy. Very, very shy. Nice and cold. Have you kept it cold, eh?
Yeah, I kept him in the shade.
Yeah, I kept him in the shade. Don't be scared, everybody. This snake is not likely to just jump out at me. Obviously, snakes bite in defense of themselves. So as long as I don't poke it with a stick or try and grab it with my hand or do anything negative, it's just going to sit there in its camouflage position, doing exactly what they do best. And can you imagine if that was in the bushes there? You wouldn't see it. I've stepped over, I don't know how many. On trail, I've been reminded, or I've been told by people 3 people back that there's a snake, and we've all stepped over it, gone back. Oh, there we go, puff adder. So how amazing. This little fellow is going to go back into the wild.
Guys, we're still following up on this female cheetah. She is spotted on something. We're just keeping a safe distance following. We think there might be a pursuit. So let's just keep this safe distance and see what happens. Obviously, we will give her preference if she does pursue with a chase. And once she's on her prey, that's when we'll make a move in and see how she finishes it off. Now look at the posture, the way she's walking, shoulders very stealthy, forward looking ears, and she's looking everywhere. She definitely did hear something this side, and that's what got her interest in the first place, this side. But her body language just says, I want to hunt, and that's all that's in her mind. Let's keep moving and just following her at the safe distance.
I wish those cheetahs well on their hunt. We've come back to where we left that male, that Ross male this morning. Remember, he had an impala carcass with him this morning. I think I can't see any remains of it whatsoever, but I can see an incredible bulge in his stomach there. And he actually looks quite uncomfortable, how heavily he's breathing. Look at how his head is rocking from side to side because of that heavy breathing. And you'll see he's breathing so quickly to almost, with such a big tummy, it can put quite a bit of pressure on his diaphragm, so it can be quite uncomfortable. You'll also see he'll have like a restless sleep because of it as well. You'll see him kind of like stretching legs or rolling over, lying on his back, opening his back legs, trying to find a comfortable position, which can be quite tricky when you've got so much food in your stomach. He had a full tummy this morning already, and then proceeded to devour an entire impala. And you'll find he probably would have eaten almost all of that impala, including the bones. He would have left the horns. It was an impala ram. I can't even see those around. I wonder if maybe not in his slumber like this, a hyena could have come through, quickly picked it up and run away with it. And if there wasn't much to lose, he would have let that happen. He gave a sort of like a mumble earlier, almost telling us that he was kind of warming up to roar. The sun is almost set. It's a beautiful time of the day, and this male will roar on occasion, often in the evenings at this time of the day, to try and advertise his presence. And he'll advertise his presence towards anyone around. That includes me, other animals, other lions particularly. And I don't know if you can see on his face, it's a little bit tricky from the side, but he's got a wound, quite a bad wound on the other side of his face. Now, he very likely would have sustained that wound from fighting with other... Rutherford, I completely agree. It's exactly what I was about to go into, a battle wound for sure. So if he is advertising his presence by roaring, and some other lions, particularly male lions, hear that, they will come in if they dare, and when they do, they'll have to fight against this lion. He is here to defend his territory and will do so with his life. He's got cubs, as we saw about 20 minutes ago, and his best job at protecting those cubs is to prevent other lions coming in. If other lions do come in, they will kill those cubs. So he will defend them with his life. They are his cubs, and that's how he passes on his genes, and the survival of the fittest continues. You can see, this is the first time I saw that wound this morning. It looks quite bad and deep, but I think it's still quite new. In a place close to his face like that, you'll often see him licking his paw. I wonder if he won't do that and try and wipe that saliva that he's put on his paw into that wound to try and keep it clean. Remember I was telling you, uncomfortable, big heavy tummy, legs wide open. It's quite a proud position, wouldn't you say? Roll right over, struggling to find a comfortable position with such a big belly. Still breathing super heavily. Look at the size of those paws as well. When he's defending his territory and the rest of the pride, he'll use those paws almost like boxing gloves and to try and fend off other lions. So I reckon that wound on his face came from a blow from another lion with similar sized paws. I'm going to leave him here. I'm going to be keeping a good ear out to see if he does roar, but the Birmingham Pride was left not far away this morning. Let's see if they are up and about.
I hope Dan manages to find the rest of that lion's pride. Us at And Beyond Phinda have come across another white rhino bull. In fact, I think it's the same bull that we saw right in the beginning of our show. The one that was resting next to that small pond of water and then got up and started to graze. And now it's actually moved quite a distance away from where we first saw it. It's moved about 2 or 3 kilometers, and right now it looks like it's just sniffing on the ground. It doesn't look like it's feeding much. It feeds now and then. It'll graze, but also it's quite actively sniffing out the scent of something or someone on the ground. I think he might also be on the scent of a female rhino, and that may be why he's walked so far. He wouldn't have needed to walk so far if he was simply feeding. There's lots of grass around. But at the moment, he seems to have paused, and maybe he's found an especially delicious patch of grass, and he's slowly beginning to feed again, not moving in such a purposeful direction anymore. So have a look at those ears as they swivel around and try to catch every single sound that he can from whatever's around him. White rhinos are almost close to blind. They have a very poor sense of sight. So they rely very heavily on their sense of hearing and smell. So that's why those ears are constantly swiveling, just straining to pick up every sound that he can. At the moment, I don't know if you can see all the branches and trees moving. There's quite a strong breeze. So C-Mac has got a good question, and she's asked about the size difference between a white rhino and a black rhino. And white rhinos are the bigger of the two. White rhinos can almost weigh, I think close to, almost a ton. White rhinos can weigh up to 2 tons. The male weighs about maybe close to 2. There's a female will weigh just less, maybe 1,500 kgs. But a black rhino male probably won't get more than 1.5 tons, so 1,500 kgs. I don't know what that is in pounds, but a black rhino cow would weigh just under a ton, I think. So almost half the size. And there's a lot of other differences between black and white rhino as well, apart from just the size difference. Do you see this rhino's sort of broad lip as he's feeding there? It's very wide, and it kind of maximizes the amount of grass that he can snip off or pull out of the ground with one bite. And that lip structure is very significant in the difference between white and black rhino. Black rhino have an extremely hooked lip, almost like the beak of a parrot, and that's less for grazing grass and more for just plucking and manipulating small twigs from branches of trees into his mouth, because black rhinos don't eat grass at all, they only eat trees. So the size, the food preference, the structure of the lip, and also just the general shape. This white rhino has a big hump over his shoulders and a straightish back. Black rhino's profile looks very, very different. They've got almost like a big dip in the middle of their back, and their head is held quite high on their shoulders too. Yogesh has also another question to do with these rhinos, and it's, do these African rhinos have armored bodies like Indian rhinos? And I'm not too sure exactly what the armor of the Indian rhino is like. I've seen pictures of them, and they look like they're very tough, and they've got almost look like their skin is toughened into sort of leather. But these African rhinos, the black and the white, also have extremely tough skin. It doesn't quite look like it's armor plated, but that skin of a rhino is almost 7 or 8 centimeters thick. And see him looking at us now. I think he's just heard us for the first time because the wind changed. But the skin looks smooth, and it looks actually quite supple when you look at it. It's the neck muscle, the skin on the neck is quite soft. There's some soft wrinkles there, but it's very, very hard, very, very tough. And I've seen rhinos walk straight through thorn bushes, vicious thorn bushes, and past jagged rocks and jagged tree stumps, and they seem to feel absolutely nothing with that skin. So I think, to answer your question, they do have very, very armor-like skin. But this rhino is now walking towards the sunset. I don't know if you can see the sunset there, but we are going to send you off while we watch this beautiful scene to another live location to see what they have found for you that side.
Welcome back to a sunset in Buffelshoek off of Kaiamanzi. I'm going to allow you all to just sit back and enjoy a few quiet moments. The earth is definitely rising, and the sun is staying in the exact same place. Why don't you all send through a little one-word tweet? Let me know how moments like these make you feel. says serene. It's most certainly serene. What's your word, Theo? Theo's is serendipity. Magnificent. Girl says it kind of feels like home. African skies. But they still amaze me, each and every one. All different and unique. Many of the guests I had in the past always used to look at the sky and say things like, but it's just so big. It's just so large. That is wide open spaces for you. Beautiful, beautiful African skies.
Couldn't agree with you more. Nothing beats an African sunset. And there's that sun setting up for us. Beautiful, great big ball of flame. And what makes the sunset even better is have a look what we're watching here. Is the rest of the Birmingham Pride. They're all starting to wake up and roll around and yawn and stretch. Now this is how one would like to spend a Friday afternoon. Sun setting in the background, watching lions and spending some quality time with them. I'm sure as that sun starts to go down, the birds are all going berserk around us. They're going to start grooming. You can see that young white one licking and cleaning. It looks like one of the older lionesses, almost encouraging her to get up. You'll see they'll start to stretch and yawn, and maybe, remember that Ross male we were just with, if he does start to roar, it would be fascinating to see their responses. They're not far away. They could go. He would very likely come and join up with them rather than them go and join up with him at this moment. There's that other young white male. He looks for, oh, little fly. I wonder if he got it. You'll often see them trying to bite the flies and catch them with their mouths. But this sunset scene is probably one of my favorite. Watching lions, particularly a pride that I've got to know and really love over the past few years. These little ones are just full of character. I'm waiting to see that little white one get that mother up. And once those bigger, older lionesses get up, you'll see the rest of the younger ones follow suit. They'll roll over. Tummy nowhere near as full as that Ross male. But you see, she's also opened her back legs, maybe enjoying a little bit of a breeze over her full tummy. In that process of trying to wake up. You know, it can be tricky in the mornings. In the evenings for lions, it can also be a bit tricky. Spent the whole day sleeping. Now it's time to wake up. Lots of grooming. I just love how lions want to always be touching each other. It's amazing how close they're all lying, how this one's licking and grooming the other one, particularly in a place which is tricky to get to. If they did eat something last night, there might be little bits of blood on the side of that one's face that this one's busy licking and cleaning off. Lions take seriously good care of themselves and each other. Reaffirming social bonds, which are so important and critical when hunting as a group. Communication and strong bonds makes for good hunting, and that'll make or ensure that these cubs survive if these females and the males can hunt successfully on a regular basis. Make sure they're big, strong, and strong enough to take out any competition that might be coming through the area. Now that's one of the lionesses we should keep our eyes on. One of the older ones, if she gets up, this whole pride will get up and follow her. Look at the little white male's tail. Isn't that amazing? The color difference of that tail compared to every other lion. They're all very, very black tails. This one has got a slight brown or maroon tinge to it. Very unique. You can't really see that anywhere else in the world. The only one who seems like they're ready to go is this young lioness, the white one. She said she's ready to go, licking herself now. Hasn't worked cleaning one of the older lionesses. I wonder if she's going to finish grooming herself, maybe go and pick another lioness to go and groom. That may very well be her mother as well. So Victor, how often do they hunt? Very good question. This evening, when they get up and move around, they may be moving from one point to another. However, along the way, they will be looking for any opportunity to hunt. Now, that may be from a small impala, which won't last very long amongst all of these lions, or a big giraffe, which might last them a couple of days. They may even rely on that Ross male to come in. And people always think that lionesses are the only ones that do the hunting. But the extra weight and strength of a male in a pride goes a long way to bringing down big prey like giraffe and buffalo. And a giraffe might last them a couple of days, which means they won't have to hunt for a couple of days. But if they move around tonight and get nothing, or maybe a small impala, they'll very likely have to hunt again tomorrow morning. They would love to eat permanent or all the time, but they don't have that luxury. Out here, you've got to find your own food, and your food is not easy to find and not easy to catch. Fast asleep. I would love to see that white lion female, get up and go and rub her head against that white lion male. She's still the only one with her head up, listening to the birds. Just watching. Also, do lions have variation in their eye color? Generally not so much. But as you saw, that white lion, when she put her head up there, she has got much lighter eyes than most other lions. And that's because of this recessive gene that comes through. You can see as well behind her ears, it's not quite that dark black in the top left of your screen that you can see behind the other one's ears. But eyes are generally the same color, but not always. When they do give birth to white lions, their eyes will be slightly different. Quite a lot lighter. I wonder if she's not scratching something there, using her front teeth. Or maybe she's got a stick that she's playing with it. That head's moving left to right quite quickly. I wonder if we're just going to hear a quick snap and her pop her head up with a big stick in her mouth, or a small stick. But what a scene. The lighting's amazing. Watching the sun go down. Couldn't think of a better way to spend my Friday afternoon. I hope you're enjoying it at home as well.
Welcome back. We're back at Tswalo Kalahari, still following on the mother and three. We're talking about the cheetahs. Look at her posture there, now sussing her surrounding. very, very alert. Still looking in the direction of where the watering hole is from earlier. So she's still pursuing that direction, but she's very fixated in that direction. The cubs are still catching up just behind her, soon to enter our screen just now. In 3, 2, 1, there we go, entering our screen there, catching up to Mom. They have walked a bit of a distance since this morning, so I'm going to jump the gun here a little bit and say soon it's going to come to a point where they want to take a bit of a rest. But you can never tell these things in nature. It has a funny way of actually playing out. So let's see what happens. Still following in a westerly direction towards that watering hole. So yeah, Dave doing a very good job there. We're going to keep up and see what these cats are missioning about. Should pop out to my left here, not very far from where we are.
Obi, good luck with that follow. I know it can be incredibly tricky to keep up with Cheetah when they're on the move, particularly if they're hunting. Luckily for us, we don't have to try and keep up with these lions at the moment, although that would be quite nice. Trying to follow 10 of them is a little bit easier than trying to follow one cheetah on the move. But it's amazing. Even in the past couple of minutes, the cloud color has changed, and it's quite amazing to think this morning it was raining out here, and now there's blue skies, sunset. It's really quite warm as well. And a lovely, lovely scene. Even that white lion female has popped her head back down. I think she's kind of lost interest and realized that everybody else is still fast asleep. Maybe she's going to try and take advantage of that and get a little cat nap in, as one would say. Head is up. One of those moments where you have woken up, but you can't go back to sleep. Listen. I must have just trying to listen to what she was listening to. It sounded like an alarm call of sorts. But you see how her attention changed? Because she's the one that's probably the most awake out of everyone here. That noise got her attention very quickly. Ears poked right in that direction. You can really see the color of her eyes now as well. Much lighter. Wish I could show you the color of another lion's eye, but they're all fast asleep at the moment. Oh, big yawn, big yawn. Up she gets. I wonder what she's going to do. Is she going to go find another place to lie down, big stretch, or is she going to go and try and wake somebody else up? Maybe like try and flop onto another lion to encourage them to wake up. She might even go and have a wee. Smelling up in the tree. Maybe that's a good place to stretch as well. Let's see if she doesn't try and stretch up in that tree. Nope. Another yawn. All gold, do I think she's more alert because of her vulnerability and the pride? I don't necessarily think in this situation, and the reason I say that is she's grown up in this pride and she's got the protection of the rest of the pride all around her. She's about to disappear out of shot here, unfortunately, but she's got the protection of everyone around her. I don't think she quite realizes how vulnerable she is, particularly because she's made it this far. and she's had all the females and the males have done an incredible job at keeping other males out. So I don't necessarily think it's like that. I've seen her be often the last one to wake up and move around. So I don't necessarily think so, although it could be an option. Those are good signs from that older lioness. A couple of yawns. Amazing how big her tongue is. Ooh, are you going to get up? Oof, start grooming the other one. Almost like it's convenient. His back leg was right in front of her. She was busy starting to wake up, licking, moving around. Oof, a little roll over. Lie on her back as well. Couple of yawns, a couple of stretches. Let's see if she gets up. It would be great to see her get up because I think she'll be the instigator to get everybody else up. I wonder if that white lioness, I wonder if I shouldn't try and keep up with her. I'm just trying to keep a good eye out to see what she's doing. She's just smelling around at the moment behind a couple of trees. She is in fact going to the bathroom, so I'm going to let her do that in her own privacy. Another one has got up. Going to walk over to the same old lioness. That's very likely her mother. Oh. You know, a little rude awakening is not always the best thing. And sit on her face. That's one way to try and get your mom or aunt up. Try and sit on their face. Catching flies. Look. Oh. Almost looks like a half-hearted job. I wonder how many times they actually are successful in catching those flies. Little scratch. Interesting to see. I really thought they were going to get up this afternoon. Maybe it's because they covered such a large distance last night that they were so exhausted now. Homeroom 6A. How long do lions sleep for? So you'll read in books that they generally move around for about 4 hours or so in a 24-hour period. So that's a lot of sleeping. However, nothing out here is set in stone or set in writing because they also often say that lions only move around at night, and that is definitely not true. Lions can move around the entire day, even when it's blisteringly hot. Sometimes they don't like to, and often they move around at night. But they can sleep for 4 hours. I mean, they can move around for 4 hours and sleep for 20 hours. Sometimes they can sleep for 10 hours and move around for 14. It all depends on the day. And particularly if they've got full bellies, they may spend, here we go, a little bit of activity, a couple of them getting up. But they do spend a lot of their time sleeping and conserving energy so that when they do move around and when they do hunt, they've got as much of it as they can. They don't have the constant food supply as the herbivores around here with lots of grass and trees around. So they have to work incredibly hard to catch their food, which means conserving energy is incredibly important. That one's also just heard something, poked its head up, big yawn, watching, listening. Listen, did you hear that little contact call? Laura, am I nervous being so close to them? I'm not nervous, particularly because of the behavior that they're showing me. I mean, you've got to take everything out here from what's around you. And if they were uncomfortable, they would definitely let me know. And if they gave me a sign to show me I'm too close or that I shouldn't be here, one might get a little bit nervous, but then you understand that you're getting too close, you stop, you give them their space. I'm on their terms. I'm guided by what they tell me or what they body language and their behavior is telling me. And if they're lying around comfortably doing exactly what they would if I wasn't here, then I'm feeling very comfortable and not nervous at all. See, all of their heads are up now. I think that one contact call got all of their attention. Lots of grooming now. Even the older lionesses are up, grooming, licking, cleaning, all part of a social ritual to reaffirm their social bonds, bringing them closer. It's amazing. You can see when you zoom up like that and that white line is so close to everyone else, the difference in actual color. Oh, just going to keep quiet for a moment. I think I heard a lion roaring in the distance. Minamu, can a white lioness mate with a regular colored lion or a tawny colored lion? The answer is yes, and they will. And this white male, let's try and just swap the situation here, if I may, in using the white male mating with a tawny colored lioness. He will, if he gets to an age where he is in charge of his own pride, very likely with his brothers, and he mates with a regular colored lion, depending on the genetic form of that lioness, will determine the color of their cubs. Because of the rarity of this white lion gene, if he were to mate with a regular colored lion, the chances of their cubs being white are very low, actually, unless that other lioness has got the same recessive gene, because he will very likely produce regular colored offspring. You see his moms and brothers are all normal colored lions. He was born in a litter with 3 other normal colored lions from a normal colored father and a normal colored mother. So yes, they very much can. But if you put a white male to mate with a white female, they will produce only white cubs. Little bathroom break. You know that feeling in the morning you wake up? The scratching, ensuring that that scent is actually well and truly in the ground. Off, down she goes. I thought that her getting up was going to get the attention. I mean, it's got the attention of everyone else. If she had maybe moved on a little bit further with some real purpose, I think everybody else would have got up and followed her. Bless you. I was that sneeze and the other lion kind of pushing his head away, saying, "Don't sneeze on me." Oh. And the younger one's up. Big stretch. Little bath. I love how they just go towards one another. Look at how everyone's just bathing and licking and cleaning each other. So I'm going to continue to spend a bit of time here. The light is fading and getting a little bit cooler, but that's a good sign. I mean, all their heads are up. A few of them have got up, gone to the bathroom, thinking about moving around. I'm going to spend the next few minutes here seeing if they do, in fact, get up and move around, in which direction they go.
Welcome again back to Tswalo Kalahari. We almost by the watering hole that I was just telling you about, and the female is still pursuing that direction. We should actually be in line with her in the next 30 seconds or so, and see what she's up to, but still pursuing the direction of the watering hole. If you look to my left, we should have her right now, and the cubs are just still catching up. It's gonna be a very interesting one to see what is lined up for her at the watering hole. these cubs are really, really exhausted. You see it every time the mother stops and they stop. All they want to do is just sit. But look at her posture. Hasn't changed one bit. Ears forward, hunched shoulders, and she's still searching. And now we're giving them a bit of chance to get to the watering hole just a little bit before us, and I'll pursue them once they've reached the watering hole. I am going to be moving a little bit forward just to see what they are up to. They almost a few, I'd say 100 meters or so away from that watering hole ahead of us. There we are. Thank you, Dave. Sinek, a very good question how strong cheetah cub's jaw is. If you had to measure it in PSIs, I cannot give you an exact pressure amount, but I would say probably as strong as what your dog pup would be. So I'm not sure on exact numbers there, but that's how I would measure it for you to make you understand. So if you took a domestic dog from home, a pup, and you measured that, it would be in proportion to that. I can actually try find out and get the numbers, and with the next segment tomorrow or so on, when I do get the proper answer with the numbers and say it out. But a very good question there. So let's follow on and see. Jesus Christ. Hold on. Testing my skill of driving here. These cheetahs are putting us through everything, making us work for it. I love it.
Obi, good luck with keeping up with that cheetah. It'll be interesting to see how long she goes for. And she'll be trying to avoid the presence of lions who are now waking up and moving around. You see them starting to get up. This one on the left has just got up, moving around. There's one that's playing with, it looks like a piece of elephant dung or a stone or a rock over there. Still lots of grooming. I haven't heard that male calling yet. I wonder if they're not listening out for that. That one white lioness hasn't come back yet. She was contact calling. I wonder if she hasn't gone to go and join that male. Because it is her father, it's no risk. She might go there and irritate him. He might get a bit frustrated with her. But she was looking for someone to almost play with over here. I wonder if she won't find a playmate over there. Big stretches. This one as well, going to the bathroom. Just on the right-hand side. Looks like she's on her way back towards everybody else, maybe to rub heads up. Say good evening, looking forward to moving around and maybe eating. She looks like she could actually do with a meal this evening. Yadesh, what age will the young male get his full mane? So manes have a lot to do with genetics, and that'll determine how big it is in one aspect. So this period, I mean, when he gets to about 3 years old or so, generally, they will be chased away from the pride and they'll be on their own in a nomadic life, looking for or getting bigger and stronger. And in that nomadic period, depending on how much food they can find, they use the excess energy that they get from food to develop a mane. So if they have a really productive few nomadic years, they can have incredibly big manes, but they are fully grown generally at around 6 years old or so. And those manes they use to protect themselves in fighting, also to make themselves look bigger in appearance. So that, I mean, you can see that white male over there. You look on the sides of his cheeks or just behind his cheeks, you can see the long hair starting to grow. And even on the back, almost like a little mohawk, starting to grow and starting to develop. And then in the next few years, it's going to grow incredibly. Oh, you look down his chest, you can see it, lots of thick hair starting to grow. Getting up, licking, making sure every hair is in the right place. I mean, that's the side he was lying on. Maybe it was a little bit ruffled. Making sure it's flat and smooth, and then he lies back down on it. He might have to do it again when he gets up. Look at these two wrestling over here. But what a beautiful scene, huh? Lots of playing, lots of fighting. Nibbling, you'll see, maybe if the one bites the other one a little too hard, there'll be a little bit of a fright and a pop-up and a little smack to the head with a paw as well. You see those teeth going into behind the neck. Licking itself, cleaning, playing, and just watching. Big yawn. How those teeth, eh? Particularly those four canines in the front. Up this one gets. This is one of the younger ones. I wonder if it was going to that same tree that white lioness went to, smelling. Sally, do lions get fur balls? They do get fur balls, particularly from their prey. You'll often see them coughing it up, not quite like a domestic cat, it'll sound like that, but also they get fur balls in their feces, or in their scat, as we call a predator's feces, and you'll see a lion's scat is often full of prey's fur. I guess that's a kind of a fur ball. You'll often see them using their very rough tongues to lick skin away and take it away, particularly if there's lots of meat to get to. There's digging, maybe it smelt something. I wonder what it smelt. I wonder if maybe another lioness or a lion didn't go to the bathroom over there, or maybe making a good spot for it to go to the bathroom. So what a lovely afternoon, everybody. I hope you have enjoyed it, from the elephants and the lions and the Masai Mara to the sightings in Pinda to those incredible cheetah in Tswalu. I really hope that cheetah manages to find some food this evening. To the beautiful lions that we've had this afternoon. It's been an absolute treat. I look forward to you guys joining us bright and early tomorrow for your live safari. Please do wake up and make an effort. You'll make sure it's going to be a good one.
Hi, my name is Taylor McCurdy and I'm coming to you from Eco Training here on Pridelands. My most favorite animal in Africa has to be the elephant that's behind me, and this is Kumo, you'll meet him. But elephants just in general, they're really sociable, they're always doing something, and I love to see the interactions between the members of the herd. To learn more about these elephants, join me on channel 183 on DSTV.
The program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Greetings.